something that is going around. So
it's flu season.
Yep.
So of course it's COVID.
Yeah, so it's COVID season.
Yeah, don't you know that COVID completely replaced the flu?
Yeah.
Yeah, just kicked it right out of the ecosystem.
Yeah. It's COVID season.
Yeah. Because that's how that works. And, it's the new COVID. So, like, it's not like anything different from the flu.
Okay.
None of the fun symptoms where, like, you don't taste anything, for example. That's gone.
Yeah, it just went away.
I never had that symptom.
I did.
I did.
Really?
It is absolutely wild.
I had it and like almost nothing else. Like I had a runny nose. I basically felt like I had allergies. Plus, I couldn't taste anything. And that was the first day I ever went to fucking great before even figuring out that it was going on. And I was like, this tastes like nothing. Like, this is terrible.
This is the worst pho I've ever had.
And then the next time I go, I was like, okay, now I can taste it and it's awesome. But yeah, so I had it, and you can like eat anything and not taste, and it's terrible. But I think that Captain said since he had supposedly COVID before, and it was like the worst sickness him and Mark ever had in 2021, he said that it's much better now, or this is much better. So it's probably not COVID. I don't know. But
or his natural immunities have weakened the virus.
Yeah, well,
variant.
And this is the natural course of all viruses, that they become more virulent but less deadly.
Yeah.
I thought we were the type of show that talks about the virus. Viruses aren't real and stuff like that.
It is an interesting perspective.
I know. I don't have like a belief about it.
It is weird that no one has actually isolated a virus.
Yeah.
That is really bizarre.
It is weird and
surprising.
There are people
virus
out there.
Is your god.
There are people out there going, "Oh, anybody who can prove me wrong and show me a virus, all right, you can do it and I'll give you $1 million." And no one does it.
You'd think there'd be some picture of an electron microscope looking at a virus and go, okay, there it is, right there.
Yeah.
So forgive my ignorance then. They showed a picture of what COVID was supposedly looking like with the little
looks like a video game
out.
bad guy.
Sure. What was that?
Yeah, that's called
imagination.
A drawing.
No, I got it. But usually
see, when a person has a thing in their head and then they use their hands to make an image of a thing, that's different. So, like, you can do that with an angel, and I don't have to believe in angels.
Okay, so when they were talking about viral load and they could isolate in the microscope like what was coming out, there was no virus in their images.
Yeah, there never has been. Not just the COVID one, viruses in general.
I got it. So
that's
crazy.
the really weird part.
Mm-hmm.
How did they distinguish between spittle and the viral load then?
By people's symptoms, they're just like, oh, they have this and this and this, so they have a virus. And when I was in high school, they drew these creepy little metal-looking things that have like a triangle head and a sprout and legs. They told us that's what viruses look like, and that's never been seen.
I hear you.
Yeah,
but that's
that
not
is
what
one
I'm
of
saying.
the wacky things is that the images of what a virus is supposed to look like have changed.
Got it.
Like they seriously looked like these weird little AT-AT Walker looking things that like squat down, and that's how they inject their RNA.
They didn't measure viral load based on people's symptoms and what they were being told. They had people like cough, right? And then they caught the cough.
Well, they tried to do
at
that.
it.
They tried to do that with the Spanish flu, I think it was, where they had people completely isolated. They took in people that were confirmed cases, had them cough all over them, eat after each other and all this stuff, and they couldn't make other people catch it.
Okay, but what were I believe you because I don't have any evidence to the contrary, but what were they catching and what were they looking at?
I don't have a personal belief, like I'm like, oh, this is definitely it, but I've heard some things that make a bit of sense. I just don't know that it's definitely true. And what I would say is, a lot of people say it's like environment, like if we're all around the same environment, like this studio.
Yeah, terrain theory versus...
Yes,
yeah.
That's what it is. Then
and terrain theory, which is a completely different worldview of how people get infected, it looks like in evidence, it works exactly the same way as viral load. Okay. So your viral load is how many particles of virus does it take to get you in particular at this particular moment sick. And that has everything to do with, okay, well, how healthy are you? Have you been breathing fresh air? Did you just come in from the cold, so your body's working really, really hard to warm itself back up and doesn't have all of its chemical processes going?
So how are we distinguishing between virus particle and virus then?
Come again?
You said they're measuring how much of the virus particle, which is what I'm saying.
So individual particles of virus.
Go on.
So one viral particle can infect one cell.
Okay.
Right? So how many viral particles does it take to actually cause an infection with your body trying to fight it off?
Got it. So when you cough into their little thing and they go like, well, there's 6 viral particles per million.
Well, how can you see
What's the
viral
6?
particle, but if you can't see a virus?
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, it is a theory. All of these have to do with things that we cannot actually see.
The other thing,
Well, they're measuring it. They're calling it parts per million or whatever it is. What are they looking at?
That is it. I've never heard this part, or at least I've never thought about it.
Yeah.
All right.
And basically what ends up happening is that they will test for the parts that make up a virus in theory. So on the viral infection belief system, you're just those are actual pieces of virus. On the terrain theory, those are broken pieces of cells that have died from toxicity.
Okay. And if the virus was created in a lab, what were they working on?
Good question.
If it had to have been something.
I think all they had to do was pretend that there was people making a virus in a lab, and then start saying, "Uh-oh, 9 people dead," and then people start going, "Ah!" and it's flu season.
And this is part of the actual unknown of the universe. We don't actually know.
Yeah.
So maybe they weren't working on anything. Maybe they really thought they were working on these viruses, and they're taking little bits of this fluid and putting it in that fluid, and they're taking bits of that.
And maybe
fluid
because
and
they
putting it over
believed
here.
it.
And
it spread because of people. Their belief was so strong. I don't know.
And that is one of the wacky things about humans is
So COVID was all hysteria.
Well, I think it could be a large part hysteria. Think about people who.
It's definitely not all hysteria, because at that point you would see that there was a bigger immunity to COVID in those that just flat out don't believe any of this stuff.
Okay.
And I
don't know. I think that I might have had that because I was like, I don't care. I'm going to keep knocking on doors. I don't want to be stuck in this hotel because I was doing Young Americans for Liberty, knocking on doors. And my roommate got it and didn't tell anyone because she was like, I don't want to have to be stuck in the hotel room. And I was like,
Smart.
I'm not going to get this. I don't even believe I'm going to get this. And the thing is, I had that allergies and not tasting anything, but everybody else was terribly sick, dying. She eventually had to stop going out and knocking on doors and make phone calls and be bored all day.
I missed 0 days of work while I had it.
Wow.
I just went get it and spread it. But I was miserable for 2 weeks.
I wasn't even miserable. I was just basically the same as having really bad allergies before I started Zyrtec in Texas. But the thing that makes me not believe in terrain theory, the thing that makes me think something has to be real about it more than just vibes is every single time Mark Edge comes from Honduras to New Hampshire and visits us, he gets me sick. And even the first time I was
He's the one who got us all sick here.
He was sick, and it was not even that time. It was a time afterwards. And he started to get sick a day after getting here, and he's like, Bonnie, I'm sorry I'm sick. Well, and I was like, I don't care.
Have you considered that maybe he's just a toxic person?
I was like, I can't get sick. I don't get sick since that COVID thing. I hadn't been sick in over a year, so I was like, it's fine. I'm not gonna get sick. I don't believe I'm gonna get sick, and I won't believe. It didn't matter. I got sick. I got so incredibly deathly sick. Every time Mark gets me sick, it's really bad. Because
he's bringing something.
That's why
foreign to you.
It seems like that has to be the case. Because if I know your conscious belief system is not as strong as your subconscious belief system, but I still think that I truly didn't even feel an ounce of anxiety, oh, he's gonna get me sick. I was like, it's fine.
Well, I was sitting in
that is a serious question that I do have for terrain theory people. Is that is a thing. The people that travel around they spread illness at a higher rate than would be explained by like, oh, well, they're just spreading toxins over people. It's like, okay, why do foreign toxins have more effect on me than domestic toxins?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. That's like the one thing that does make sense.
Well, we didn't all get sick when the Ohio fire dropped a bunch of toxins on New Hampshire.
Right. But when someone comes from a foreign place and gets you sick, it's because they have got a natural immunity to it, being brought up in that environment.
Right.
And then you don't.
Which works if we're talking about microbes. Now, if infections are not caused by microbes, which is what terrain theory states, well, if they're caused by toxins instead, then why can I adapt to this set of toxins? But and there's definitely a correlation between the further away that you bring your set of toxins, the more likely I am to get sick. Well, that doesn't make any sense if terrain theory is correct.
If it's still a toxin, regardless. I think you have to go back and remember like how sick you were as a kid. Like kids are snotty little buggers.
I was sick all the time.
They're sick all the time, and that's the period of time where they're building their immunity to local toxins or local microbes or local whatever.
I just looked on my phone.
When you bring something foreign, they don't have it.
I looked on my phone because I learned that a city in New Hampshire is named after the guy whose idea it was to give the Native Americans pox, whatever it was. Yeah, the blankets with the, what is it? Smallpox on it, and it's Amherst. I was like, well, why do we, honestly, like if we're going to change city names and tear down statues, I feel like that's a pretty good one to change. It's pretty messed up. Like no one should be in favor of liking him.
It's like, we will totally get around to those Thomas Jefferson statues, but before we do that, could we change the names that we put in place because we were spreading smallpox blankets to the natives? Could we start there?
Like, was he famous for anything else? I don't know.
It's like, okay, we'll totally knock
that would be the
down
most
that
famous,
statue.
regardless.
Could we maybe start with Albert Pike, who basically created the Ku Klux Klan and still currently has also fought for the South in the Civil War and currently has a statue in Washington, D.C. Could we start with that one?
He's a living person?
Oh, well, he's not a living person. No.
Not with the Civil War.
Wait, Wait, that doesn't make sense. I forgot you said that part. I was just thinking the Ku Klux Klan. I don't know when they got started. But you said he currently has property.
No, he currently has a statue in D.C.
Okay.
Like there's a statue of, mind you, the only statue of a Southern general in D.C. And it's the guy who started the Ku Klux Klan.
Is he related to the guy who started the Illuminati in Bavaria?
Oh, yeah, no, this is the same dude.
That's the same dude. I was like, he has a same name.
He pretty much created the whole 33rd degree Mason thing.
In Germany?
No, in the U.S.
Okay, then I think I'm thinking of someone else.
Like he brought the whole Scottish Rite to prominence, and they're the really scary ones.
Yeah, I've heard that Scottish Rites are like not real Freemasonry. They're like masonry without the free.
Slave masonry.
Yeah, I guess they just don't want to give it to everyone, and I don't know. I don't know that much about.
Yeah, he wrote Morals and Dogma, which is, I got to tell you, one of the most scary books I have ever even attempted to read. It's like, people are terrible. They need to be controlled all the time. People are like steam, and if you can just push them through these pipes and not let them make decisions of their own, then you can harness their chaos for productivity. It's like, whoa.
Wow. That sounds
okay,
like
I
something.
Can see why you
is he wrong, though?
Oh, it works.
Okay.
It is effective.
All right.
It is a very effective way to operate. It's, evil and manipulative, and it has severe downsides like not allowing human beings to invent or create,
all right,
which is where all of our resources come from.
I think it's messed up anytime, whether you're doing it positively or negatively, anytime you talk about people as if they're all the same. And like Jeremy Kaufman hates when people do it in a positive way, like blank slate theory. Oh, everybody is just as capable of being intelligent as everyone else. That might not be true. It's also not true that everyone is as stupid and moldable as everyone else.
Well, I will say this. One area where you can find common ground with like those people, communists and capitalists, is that if you assume people are evil, that's fine, right? Because the capitalist system compels those evil people to be productive and sell their wares to people to make a profit. Like you have to benefit others to benefit yourself. You can't just be mean and run steam through a steam pipe or people through a steam pipe and make them do what you want.
Well, free market capitalism, yeah.
Right,
yeah, like
that's what I'm saying.
Jesus.
Well, so I mean, different capitalism. So crony capitalism does the opposite. Like you
Does push
actually
people
get
through
way more money for being more evil if you have a system of regulations in play.
Right, but that would be like your fascism, your socialism. But
Well,
the
crony capitalism, and that is what most people think capitalism is.
Got it. But the common ground is that we can all assume people are evil, and let's find a way to make everything the most productive.
Jesus said in the Gospel of Thomas, which is like a Gnostic gospel, so who knows, maybe he didn't say it, whatever. Some people at one time believed Jesus said this and wrote it down. He said,
Same with the railboat.
the people who have gained a lot of wealth should rule the world. The people who love power should die or something like that. He was very violent in that one. But to me, that sounds like free markets.
That makes me really think that there was a reason this one didn't get included in the club.
Right. He actually said some really good things and then some also really crazy things.
As Jesus said in my favorite fanfic.
Yeah, Jesus fanfic.
I don't know where it is in your Bible, right? But somewhere it says like the meek shall inherit the earth.
Yep.
Right, and it's because
Yeah.
the wealthy all go to heaven. That's you guys get what's left behind.
Yep, I think that's the Mount of the Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is on the Sermon on the
Well,
Mount. Yeah,
So I think in Matthew.
That's not what he was talking about.
it may not be what he's
I
talking
don't
about, but
know.
that's my
I don't know.
interpretation.
That's your interpretation.
Yeah.
I see.
I think that you can interpret the Bible however you want.
Of course you can. That's why I'm interpreting that way. If the meek are going to
So-
inherit the earth,
So you're a Ferengi.
What's that?
I'm sorry, dude, I'm not that into Pokemon.
Well,
Yeah, it sounded like a mean
wrong
word.
kind of nerddom.
Oh, okay.
No, this one's Star Trek.
Okay.
Like, hardcore nerddom.
Oh yeah, not
But
me.
no, so Ferengi believe that you actually buy your way into heaven.
Okay.
So that's why their whole thing is about like, no, you have to get as much money as possible all of the time.
But didn't
Yeah.
he just say the opposite, that the meek inherit the earth?
Yeah, the meek. The
yeah,
the wealthy people go to heaven.
Yes,
the meek get the
Jesus
earth.
said
Wait,
that
meek
the meek
is
shall
wealthy? I
inherit
thought
the
meek
earth.
was-
And Richie said that, yes, that's because the rich are going to heaven, which he might be
Oh,
right about,
okay.
given the space travel thing.
Huh?
I mean, that certainly seems to be like, look at Elon Musk,
See?
the Amazon guy, they all decide to
Bezos?
go to space. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bezos, Musk, they all go to
I
space.
think it's
Branson?
because they're materialists and they're like, I need to get out of here. I can only go to Mars. And they don't think about a spiritual realm.
See, they will literally ascend into heaven, leaving the earth to the meek.
Isn't that the
Yes,
same as
and
the
good
Babel,
riddance.
Tower of Babel? It's like the new version of the Tower of Babel,
A
basically.
little bit, yeah.
It's like, I'm
I
gonna
mean,
build.
they are literally trying to reach heaven under their own power. That's very true.
That's
Whereas,
creepy.
like Tower of Babel, it's hey, we learned how to bake bricks. We shall now reach heaven under our own power, and we're like, no, we can literally send rockets to the moon,
From the top of that tower, you could see the curvature of the earth.
right?
It's just so weird how Jesus or God or whatever, since his Old Testament says in that, they were about to succeed.
Oh yeah.
That's weird.
Oh yeah. Nothing shall be forbidden from them. Oh, okay, that's a real problem. Now we have to mess up their language.
And their lifespan, I think? Or was that the flood, after the flood?
No, I think that one was at the same time. I shall not always abide with them. Their days shall be limited to 120 years. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was Tower of Babel stuff.
Well-
Yeah.
If they were that close back then, I mean, I wouldn't trust anything else in that book.
It looks like we have, but the thing is, I think the Bible is all like analogy or allegory, but
Sure.
that's another conversation.
And you see,
I think
the
we
Tower
should
of
go
Babel
to the
was
bones.
really about the orbital elevator, you see.
Yes. It looks like we have an unscreened caller. Not sure what's your name, unscreened caller?
Is that me?
Yeah, you.
Hi, I'm Van. How y'all doing?
Hi, Van. What's on your mind?
Well, you bounced around a lot. You went from the
Yeah.
COVID and out of the scriptures and everything, and I just forgot what I was going to comment on. But yeah, the Tower of Babel. Yeah, that's pretty heavy, man. But I do believe in the teachings of Christ, and the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek also means humble,
Yeah.
and you're talking about materialism, which I struggle with too. I just think there's so much of it, and it's so disgusting. And me myself, I hope to get to heaven one day. And
Well, then don't be
I just
meek.
know
Otherwise, you're going to be left on earth.
Don't be
man. I don't care about the earth. I'll be in heaven, you know. And but anyway, I just it's pretty deep, you know. And you talk about the Gospel of Thomas, and yeah, I've never really read it, but
it's
yeah,
confusing.
It is confusing.
Yeah, it's just it's a bunch of sayings by Jesus. Ian and I, my husband who's in prison, just finished reading it together because we read a book about it. The book about it was way more interesting than it itself because it was just. I mean, we had lots of theories about what each thing meant, but it still was like a lot of it was really weird, like really out there. Like you said, women do not deserve to live. For if a woman becomes a man, then that's the only time she's able to, like, deserves to live. That's weird.
Wow.
So transgender Jesus.
Violently pro-transgender.
Women. You know, if you read the four Gospels, he liberated women.
Right.
He really did. A lot of women
I
followed
agree.
him.
I agree that Jesus was very pro-women. The other thing is that particular verse did have a little note next to it that said this may have been added at a later date, and none of the other ones did.
Oh,
So.
yeah, I bet it did. Well,
Me too.
I'm sorry your old man's locked up. I mean, that's a bummer. I've never heard you on the radio before. And
Any of us?
Is he doing no, I never heard. I only get you all on Saturday nights down here. And I don't get you the rest of the week.
So
know?
Ian, he used
you're
to
in
host.
for a treat, sir.
Oh, Ian's the one. Are you Bonnie?
Yeah, I'm Bonnie, and Ian is my husband who's in prison.
I've heard you before. Yeah, I've heard you, Bonnie. That was my sister's name.
Oh.
Cool name, my late sister. Yeah,
Nice.
She was a cool girl. But I was going to ask about that too. The update on Freeman there.
We'll give an update on Ian when we get back. Thank you for your call, Van. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the year in review. And the year took a completely unexpected turn on October the 7th with the brazen, coordinated, deadly Hamas assault on Israel that took more than 1,400 lives and resulted in hundreds of people being seized and taken back to Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made an address to the nation in the hours after the biggest crisis his country had faced since the Yom Kippur War half a century earlier.
Israel is at war. We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most brutal and savage way. But though Israel didn't start this war, Israel will finish it.
In the ensuing weeks, Israel has taken massive military reprisals that have, according to the Gaza Health Authority, killed more than 20,000 people, including 8,000 children. The crisis in the Middle East has posed fresh challenges to US leadership on the world stage. President Biden ended the year accusing Israel of an indiscriminate bombing campaign in Gaza, but resisted pressure to call for a ceasefire and has seen public support for his handling of the crisis diminish. He also presides over a very uncertain situation in Ukraine after Congress failed to pass fresh legislation renewing military assistance to the government in Kyiv. President Volodymyr Zelensky made several visits to Washington during the year and earlier in December urged the resumption of US support.
Ukrainians haven't given up and won't give up. We know what to do, and you can count on Ukraine, and we hope to be able to count on you.
President Vladimir Putin in Russia publicly claims his war aims have not changed, but privately is reported to have indicated he may be willing to negotiate a ceasefire if Kyiv agrees to give up territory, a proposition that President Zelensky has described as insane. US relations with China ended the year on the mend after President Biden met President Xi on the sidelines of the APEC summit in San Francisco. India welcomed world leaders to New Delhi when Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted the G20 summit, and BRICS, the grouping that brings together Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, announced plans to welcome 6 more members to the bloc. US President Donald Trump became the first ever occupant of the Oval Office to face criminal indictment. More than 90 separate charges in 4 jurisdictions, many of them relating to his efforts to subvert the outcome of America's 2020 election. Hollywood writers went on strike for 148 days. Actors also walked off the job. Both groups settled their claims that largely resolved around revenues from streaming services. And in June, 5 explorers died when the Titan submersible imploded on a journey to view the wreckage of the Titanic in the waters of the North Atlantic. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. It's talk radio that you control. In 603-283-6160 is the phone number for you to call. 603-283-6160. In with you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Bonnie. I muted you guys on purpose.
Censorship! More and more censorship on this show.
I know. Exactly. What's your name again?
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
And the actual topic we were intending to talk about at the beginning of the show was that Gypsy Rose Blanchard got released from prison after 10 years. And if you don't know who that is, this article luckily goes into, explains who she is first, so we can read that to you. Lee doesn't seem to know, didn't know until tonight who she was. This article from...
Way to put him on blast there, Bonnie.
Yeah, Lee doesn't know. From KT...
And dox me.
Oh man, sorry. I keep forgetting that. I should have studied it before. Okay, anyways. Or practiced it. KTLA.com, it says, Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who was sentenced to 10 years in prison in 2016 for her role in her mother's murder, was released from prison in Missouri on Thursday and took to social media to celebrate her freedom. Gypsy initially made headlines after her mother, Claudine Dee Dee Blanchard, was found stabbed to death in her Springfield, Missouri home in June 2015. Oh, okay. What started as a case of a young girl plotting to kill her mother unraveled when it was revealed that Dee Dee had been lying about her daughter's medical conditions, which according to Gypsy included leukemia and muscular dystrophy, among other ailments. She had nothing wrong with her. That's the thing.
Sounds like the mom got what she deserved.
I know, right? It's hard to feel any other way. So it says, experts believe that Gypsy suffered from Munchausen syndrome by proxy, now known as factitious disorder imposed on another, which is when a caregiver falsifies the appearance of health problems in a person under their care, most typically their own child. So she would do it. She would be like, Dee Dee, you have this and that, and don't talk when you're around these people, like the news camera crews or like the hospital people. And she liked to do it because of the attention she got. She got money
too. Yeah, okay.
And attention. Yeah. But
please help my poor daughter.
That's what they say
She's
about
afflicted.
why people get this way is like, well, the money makes sense, but also they're like, this is so... It's like, you know how people can actually grow to love their physical ailments they have because they're like, well, I keep talking about my back pain, and then people wonder what's wrong with her. It's something to talk about, or like they feel sorry for me.
And it's one of the biggest hurdles with overcoming diseases and disorders is that people identify with what's wrong with them. It gives them a sense of who they are.
Yep. I think that that's a huge part about this lady. So she was like, I'm the caretaker of a disabled daughter with a wheelchair and everything. And she could walk the whole time and she was fine the whole time. And once she got older, she found out about the internet. Her mom didn't like let her use the internet, but she was sneaking it.
Okay.
She met a boy and he lived in like Wisconsin and she lived in Springfield, Missouri. And she convinced him to come over. And then he came over in the middle of the night and she gave him a knife and told him to go stab her mom. And he did it. And then they ran away together.
Sounds like true love.
And she got 10 years and he got life. And that's like the most messed up part to me.
That he got life?
Yeah. His name was Gojon. His first name, I don't see it here. His last name was Gojon. Nicholas Gojon.
Sounds like he is a protector and a provider.
He was extremely autistic. Like I saw a video yesterday. I'm not saying he can't be a protector and a provider. I'm just saying he was like real autistic, not just like what's worse, Asperger's or autism? I can't remember.
Autism.
Okay, then he had like a really bad autism even, to the point like he was talking, you couldn't even understand what he's talking about. He's like moving on to another subject, makes no sense, and like looking at the ground.
But if you have Asperger's and you're waiting on hold, it's probably autism.
I don't get it.
Don't worry about it.
Okay. Anyway. So it says years of psychological and physical abuse, as well as being subjected to numerous unnecessary surgeries and medical tests, are said to be what drove Gypsy to want to kill her mother. And like the one thing I always wonder about this is how did the doctors not know? Like, oh, you don't need a wheelchair. How did they not know?
Well, if she was not getting out of the wheelchair and they didn't like raise her from the wheelchair.
Yeah.
We don't believe you. And then they pull her up and then she just flops over and falls.
Oh my God.
Like, oh, missed another one.
She even stole.
I think it's really telling, actually, that the doctors did not stop this at any point. I mean, it's obviously in their best interest if you continue to come in for surgeries, continue to get this treated, whether or not it even exists. And, I mean, to somewhat circle back to our earlier conversation, I think that we really do need to start questioning the basically priest. Yes. I mean, it's essentially become a kind of priesthood.
Right.
Where people have the same level of faith in everything that someone says because they are a part of this specified training, that they, number one, they can even change their own health to accord to what the doctor tells them it should be. So we really need to start focusing on, hey, these are just human beings. Even though they think they're gods, they're not. And they are just as motivated by profit and by being esteemed for what they do as anyone else.
Maybe so, but they have to be effective. If you go to the doctor and you go like, doctor, I'm sick, and the doctor goes like, take this medicine, and you feel better, right? And you're like, oh, good doctor.
Yeah, but what if they're just like
drugs.
Treating the
whatever?
Yeah,
symptoms?
no, I'll grant you, drugs are effective.
Okay.
It's a shame we're not allowed to get them.
Well, even if you were allowed to get them on your own, like you are now experimenting, which you're more than likely to do or more than allowed to do. But you go to the doctor.
I'm really not more than allowed to experiment with drugs.
Well,
I'm not sure which country you think you're in.
Well, you have the right to then, since you like the word
there
right.
we go.
Okay,
that's true.
But you go to the doctor, and the doctor has more intimate knowledge of the effects of those drugs than any person off the street will. And so he goes like, "This is the one for what I see in you."
But
and
you
if
can
it
also
works,
Google it at this point. It's like when I was in high school, my friends would come to me and be like, Bonnie, I found this in my parents' closet. What does it do? And I would know at that point because I started like reading on Arrowwood.
Okay.
But
so
that's a bad thing.
Google it, and you'll find out that
too.
you're dying.
Is like if we were allowed to figure out what we're going to take instead, then there would also be a market for here's a program that tells you, okay, well, if you are taking this, you can't take this because it'll do this.
Well, Arrowwood does that. Arrowwood, if you go on there and look at even just like something like Percocet, it'll come up with the things you shouldn't take with it and stuff like that.
Nice.
So a listener in the chat has come up with a poem to teach a lesson about the whole situation with the boy getting life. He wrote, Gypsy Rose, don't do anything for hoes.
Well, that is not even a haiku, but okay.
It's just one line, I guess. So it's not a poem.
So
It's a
here's
poem. It's
my-
a draft of a poem.
I mean,
Okay,
gotta
it's the
fill it
first
in.
lyric.
what doesn't count as poetry is pretty subjective.
Yeah,
but,
isn't there like one word poetry or?
you know, if it's presented as poetry, it might be poetry.
I feel like there has to be people that are just they go up there and they say one word and turn around and get cheers.
Probably. I'm sure that someone has won competitions that way.
So I'm not sure if it's Mandela effect or not, but I consider myself to be a published poet.
Interesting.
I just can't find the book that I got published in.
What do you mean?
I got my poem published in a book.
But you just can't find it?
I can't find the book anymore because it's been so long, and my parents don't have a copy of it anymore. And
you were like a kid?
Yeah.
Or like a teenager or something?
No, I was a kid.
I would not be surprised. There are actually a number of companies that's kind of their grift, is they make your children more important by putting them and a whole bunch of others in this book of children's poetry.
Yep, but I can't find
and
the
then
book.
selling you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
But
still published.
And your parents didn't buy it?
Yeah. No,
As
they
far as-
did. They just can't find it.
Oh, wow.
It's been so long.
as far as the story goes, though, quick question. Why did he have to stab her if they were going to run away anyway?
I know. That's the thing I wonder all the time. It's like he couldn't have come. They were going to run away anyway. She was asleep. He could have just come, got her and her things and left however they left. Did you say? Never mind. And then left. And I don't understand why he had to kill her. Maybe, I think at that point
She was
it's
a
just
threat
revenge.
to society. She could have done this to anybody. As a caretaker? How many caretakers have multiple clients?
Yeah, maybe she would just start care. If she woke up and Gypsy was gone, she'd be like, "Dang it!" and then like go start caretaking.
Well,
good
time
job.
to do this over again.
That's
Yeah.
what they do.
That might be true. Do you guys want to talk to Squidward?
Put them on. This is the artist that I was talking about.
Squidward, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your beautiful mind?
It's your girl.
It's your
Skidooba-doo-ba.
boy, the evolutionary capitalist.
The
Hey,
second best
Bonnie,
evolutionary
did you,
capitalist.
The preeminent evolutionary capitalist. Hey, Bonnie, did you see my offer to Free Talk Live hosts?
No.
Hey, what are you still doing here, clueless musketeer? How come you're still here?
That's
Did
my
you,
maiden
book a flight
name.
to,
Little weirdo.
Oh, I offered to.
He's the
pay
clueless
for
musketeer.
Oh,
everybody's-
Clueless. Never mind. I thought he was saying my maiden name that sounds similar to that.
Well, don't say it
Well,
now.
that's fitting too.
Doxy McGee.
That's it.
Yeah, what is with
wow.
you and doxing today?
I thought
Seriously.
he doxed me. I just thought he was being a
how
little
come you're still
weirdo.
here, clueless?
What is the
Well,
offer?
why
You
you
didn't
still here?
answer me. That's why you're being weird. Like you said you were going to tell me an
I'm sorry.
offer and then you started saying something to someone I
I-
didn't know.
Because when I disproved that taxation is theft, I offered to pay everybody's filing fee for renunciation of citizenship.
He did
But
make
no
the
one's
offer.
taking up my offer because they
That's
want
true.
to stay.
What,
You
I don't
keep-
even get
you
this.
kept
You
moving the
offer
goalpost.
something for yourself doing something. That's not how that works. You're supposed to say like,
no. Hold on, buddy.
No.
Don't
he
tell
will
him?
pay, no. He will pay if you, Peakless, I, or the captain renounce our citizenship. He will pay the filing fee himself.
"Oh,
For
okay."
Bonnie too, and I'll pay Bonnie's first class ticket to Ukraine, Liberland,
It's not the same thing.
Palestine, or Argentina, where you can hang out with your boy Loco. How about that? How come? You want to take up that offer?
You sound like a
First
freak.
class.
Like I seriously hate your voice. Just go freaking back to your parents' basement. You sound so gross, and it's just like, what kind of offer is that? Like,
I found it to be a legitimate offer. It's like the best thing he's ever called in about.
I simply don't trust him.
That's a fair response to his offer.
I just have plenty of reasons
also,
to not
he-
reject my citizenship.
Like the second I said yeah, he's like, okay, and then you can't complain about taxation anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Right.
that's the thing. He's
It's
acting like
no, you move the goalpost there. I'm going to continue to complain about being stolen from, even when I have the option of thief.
it's so stupid. It's like I just think that if I renounce my citizenship, I'd just be worse off, and taxation would still be theft. He didn't prove anything.
Well, sometimes libertarians will say like, we can't leave because there's a price to pay for leaving.
Yeah, well, that
Right? The government charges you to leave to go to another plantation.
the other thing is like, where else would I go that's better? Where would I go without taxes other than somewhere just like absolutely terrible? I'm not going to Siberia.
Well,
Yep.
and you have to be in a different country in the embassy of the U.S., or they won't accept your resignation as a citizen anyway.
You have to live in
the
embassy of the U.S. forever?
No, you have no. You have to stay out of the country though.
Oh.
So if you're willing to move, if you're like, like Mark Edge, we talked about, he's in like Honduras or whatever. If you go like, I'm going to go to Honduras. Like I had a friend in
But even
Hawaii.
he likes his U.S. citizenship.
Got it.
Because it's a good one.
I had a friend in Hawaii who moved to Paraguay.
Mm-hmm.
And he renounced. He went through like the Dollar Vigilante. I can't remember.
Jeff Berwick.
Berwick, yeah, that's the one. He went through like the Dollar Vigilante program to get foreign citizenship in South America, renounce your U.S. citizenship, and that was it. Like he's gone. He did it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you're going to do that, and you think like wherever you go, Honduras, Paraguay, Argentina now, right? And you're like, I think it's better there for me, and I'm going to stay there and renounce my U.S. citizenship because it's better there than it is here. Well, then Squidward will pay for that.
Well, and if Elizabeth Warren manages to pass this bill of hers, then I think that'll be the case, where not being a U.S. citizen will be of a way bigger benefit because she's making anything that helps you have a private key or a public key. Like if you have a non-custodial wallet, you are officially a bank, and you have all of these requirements of reporting and all sorts of filing fees.
Oh my God.
And if you don't do those,
well, let's
then
get into that in a second because we have a whole lot to say about it. But I want to let Ricky on. Ricky from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. What's on your mind, Ricky?
Thank you there, Miss Bonnie.
Another offer that we can't refuse.
Yeah, no. The Pinkless, you're terrible. No, brother
I agree.
Richie, Pinkless Mountaineer. Well, I agree with that.
Just kidding.
Yeah, now I will tell you, that was a good call.
We all agree.
That was a good call on Miss Bonnie's part because, Squiggy's the most untrustworthy person I've ever heard call into this program.
He's just boring and weird. It's like, do I really want to just let Free Talk Live be creepy freak talking to me talk live? Like, I don't even
your audience is
care.
libertarians, so.
No, Squiggy's horrible in more ways. It's how do they say it? 2 days of Sunday or whatever the hell it is.
2 days of Sunday.
Anyways,
More
West
ways
Side
to
Connection,
Sunday.
brother.
Something like that.
There you go. That's it. That could be it. I don't
7
know,
ways
but
to
it
Sunday?
works for me.
I don't
No. I tell you what. No, Squiggy give me nightmares when I hear him speak. I mean, about all kinds of madness. There's got to be. Now, I just wonder though, is it the result of brain damage or way too many hard narcotics?
He calls the entire show on Thursdays. He calls the whole time, and I hang up on him, and he calls right back. He has 3 hours of his life in his parents' basement to do that.
He has admittedly said on air he has Asperger's. So take that however you want.
Did I crack Ricky up? Is that what he's doing?
Maybe.
Oh.
Sounds like, yeah.
No, the man, I don't, maybe he's AI. Maybe the man's not even real. Maybe somebody's
or he's getting
paid.
paid.
Joke.
Like, imagine doing that. You'd have to be
it's
getting
the
paid.
autism.
Well, hey, to be
it's
fair,
just the autism.
It is a
Just blame it
lot
on that.
easier to pretend to be an autistic human than to pretend to be a not autistic human.
And the other thing is, if he's
you're an
autistic,
AI.
why is he so stupid? Autistic people are usually pretty good at figuring things out. Instead, he's like, blah, 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 and doesn't make any sense.
Because he thinks he has. Right?
No,
he has
believe me, I know,
created
because-
evolutionary capitalism. He's the only one that understands it. He can't communicate it properly because we're all just too dumb to get it like he is. He's above us.
No, believe me, I know because Brother Ian put me as a last resort on the phone with Squiggy. And he was ludicrous. I mean, I totally destroyed him, but he was ridiculous.
I didn't know you guys were both on together. I didn't know that.
We were. It was a classic.
Now we know the answer for the drop downloads. Mark, there you go.
Oh, my goodness.
No, but on the other things, though, something actually important. Now, this is something I want Peakless to get involved in. Now, Miss Bonnie's here.
It's an
now,
MLM scheme.
I think it's important because, my predictions is just to show you how back they go, Richie. They go back to the Thursday night that Saudi Arabia and Egypt joined BRICS. So not just recently. Now, those predictions are a little older than you realize. So I want to get the terms of our bet that we're going to do in 2025 down pat.
Whoa! This
You
is
had a whole
not.
week
This
to
is
think
not my
about it,
bet.
Richie. Now, what do you
This is
got?
between you and Richie Rich. I am, however,
Okay,
helping
well,
you
we can do that.
clarify
Now-
what your bet is.
It's got. I just need
Okay,
numbers,
well,
man.
I'll propose it. This is based on our last conversation. Now, once again, to reiterate, the predictions are very simple. Around July, excuse me, that was my roommate. Around July of 2025, gas prices are going to go sky high like we've never seen them before.
25.
And
I
then
thought it was
by the end-
2024.
No, it's only 25.
Oh, okay.
2025.
Okay.
2025.
So pause there.
Why?
No. Why? Because this is the same conversation we had last week. You have to put a number on it.
Yeah, you
You
can't make
can't
a bet
just
without
say
a number.
sky
on it.
high.
Why? Wait a minute.
So you have
Otherwise,
all-
we'll quibble
you-
about it.
You
and-
had a whole week to think about this.
Richie, you
Put
know
a
the
number on
problem
it.
is? Okay. What kind of number do you want, Richie?
It's your prediction.
You know,
I'm betting against your
Okay,
prediction.
what's the highest gas price have ever been in this country? How about we do that?
Probably $7 or $8 in California.
All right, I'll say it's higher. I say it'll go higher than $10.
Okay, so now we have a number.
There we go.
National average, highest in the whatever happens to be reported in the country.
You say 8, Ricky says 10?
No. I'm betting against Ricky.
Look,
if Ricky says 10, the bet is that I don't think it will hit 10.
Okay.
So now that we have 10 as the baseline.
National average,
You know what,
$10 a
They can
gallon.
do all
All
three
right,
predictions.
now we have
Now,
a bet.
Here's the other one.
Sorry, I thought you guys
Now,
were
here's
talking.
the other one. By the end of 2025, the dollar will fall completely. Now, that's a good one, Richie.
I already accepted
'Cause you're
that
Richie
one.
Rich.
Yeah, I already
Huh?
accepted that one. I don't think the dollar's going to hit
yeah,
zero
you
by the
accept
end of
that.
2025.
Okay, now, that's
Yes.
pretty good considering when I
Yeah, I
made
don't
that
either.
prediction, no
Anything.
doubt.
Yeah.
Now, here's the third one. We will go into economic oblivion by the end of the first quarter.
But economic
2026.
oblivion isn't a defined thing. Is what they seem to
I'll
not
tell
be
you
able to
what
get through
that
to
is.
you.
Okay. I'll tell you what that is. Imagine this: when a country of 330 million people becomes a third world country, that's like a disaster of epic proportion.
And there's a definition. There's
And it's
a
never
definition
happened
out there for third world country. So look up
Well,
that
okay,
definition and make sure that you're comfortable with that
It'll be worse.
criteria.
Okay, Richie, worse than Venezuela.
Okay,
On
whoa,
what metric?
hold on. So worse than Venezuela right now?
I would say at light speed.
Or hold on. Worse than Venezuela is right now, or worse than Venezuela will be at the time?
Lightspeed has a value.
No, I would say worse than it is right now.
Okay.
You know.
On
I
what
mean-
metric?
Oh, come on, Richie. You know what the problem
No,
is?
it's
You
a
just
fair
don't wanna
question. Like,
lose.
are we talking infant
you
mortality rates here?
That's
Are
part
we
of third world
talking,
country.
Are we talking inflation?
That's part of it. Go,
Are
no,
we
keep going.
talking
No, I'm talking
the separation
economic.
of
The dollar's
powers
gonna
into
fall.
warlords? What are
Okay.
we talking
Our
here?
money will be worthless. We can't pay our workers to do anything. We can't buy or sell anything. Nobody worldwide's going to want our money. You know, that's what's going to happen, and it's all because of the gold. The
Well, hold on.
gold-backed
So it's
currency.
entirely possible, though, that like the dollar crashes completely, is no longer worth anything, and yet we don't turn into a third world country. I mean, especially up
Well,
here in
well,
New Hampshire.
That's why it's two separate bets.
Yeah, I mean, especially up here in New
How
Hampshire,
are we going
like
to pay our workers, guys? What are we going to pay them with?
gold.
Hopefully, most of the workers who are
Yeah, but the problem
currently
is-
getting
Grass
just
or ass?
dollars and like live in or work for
covered
government,
this.
just like go die or go somewhere.
There's
You know
three
what I
forms
think,
of payment.
Richie, I think you listen to the show, and I don't think you want to do this bet because Brother Ian already said I was right.
I
So the
already
fact of
accepted the
matter is it's
second one.
hopeless.
We already have a bet.
What did Brother Ian say he was right about?
He said the night I'd made these three predictions, the Thursday night when
When Ian was on.
Saudi Arabia and Egypt joined BRICS. That Thursday night, I made these three predictions, and he said I'm right.
Okay.
Me and Picos already talked about the gold discussion, you know, as far as how we're going to deal with it. You know, so I mean, Richie, I know you're trying to weasel out of this.
I'm not trying to
You know,
weasel out of
it's
it. I
pathetic.
already accepted the second one. We already have an agreement for 5 dash
Richie, why don't you just accept all of them, you know?
because you haven't
And just move
defined
on with it.
anything.
Yeah, we need yes or no
Why
things.
do
We
you
need
know,
something you
oblivion.
can.
Fine.
We need something
Because
that
it's
you
a
could.
bet.
Complicated.
We need something that you can say this either is or isn't the case.
Wait a minute, I'm making the bet here, so it's my term. So you got to give me counter terms.
But
you
then
know?
they
No.
don't have to.
No.
They don't have to
I'm
accept
just
them if you
accepting
don't.
or declining your bet. And I've accepted the bet. Like, we have 5 on the line that you think the dollar will reach zero.
Yeah.
The dollar will reach zero. I'm accepting that bet. I don't think the dollar is going to reach zero.
But Ricky does.
But Ricky does. So we've
By
already
2025.
we bet that last week.
That's all right.
The only thing that changed
the
between
Republican Party fragmenting too, so that's wonderful.
the only thing that changed between last week and this week is you now have put a dollar value on the gas at $10, and now I'm negotiating that $10. Right? Is it national average? Is it peak in the nation? You know, like where are we going to look to see where gas is?
I thought we agreed on national average.
Well, you brought it up. I did not hear Ricky agree to it.
But also, Ricky, do you agree to that? National average for the gas?
Yeah, national average sounds good, and you had me a hold. I didn't even know it, but I'm glad you did.
Well, we're about to be on.
So
we're
I
going
will
on break,
accept that bet. I don't think gas is going to hit $10 national average.
He also said the thing about third world.
But there's another 5.
So we're
2 out of 3.
We're 2 out of 3.
Okay, 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. Don't go anywhere. There's more coming up.
I'm not weaseling out of anything.
You weasel. I also call him Brother Ian. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
When you got your health, I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. Have you seen the TV commercials for Good RX? It's a website and app that comparison shops for prescription meds. One catch, it only works if you're paying without insurance. My pal Larry doesn't go to a dentist. He lets university dental students hone their clinical repertoire on him. Yes, it is less expensive, and insurance still covers it. One trade-off he's quick to add: plan on spending the whole morning there, because students' work is so closely supervised. Because it's a university, he figures he's getting state-of-the-art care. And when I asked about rookie mistakes, Larry said the students are gentle. Just don't let the faculty in there. How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the year in review. And the year took a completely unexpected turn on October the 7th with the brazen, coordinated, deadly Hamas assault on Israel that took more than 1,400 lives and resulted in hundreds of people being seized and taken back to Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made an address to the nation in the hours after the biggest crisis his country had faced since the Yom Kippur War half a century earlier.
Israel is at war. We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most brutal and savage way. But though Israel didn't start this war, Israel will finish it.
In the ensuing weeks, Israel has taken massive military reprisals that have, according to the Gaza Health Authority, killed more than 20,000 people, including 8,000 children. The crisis in the Middle East has posed fresh challenges to U.S. leadership on the world stage. President Biden ended the year accusing Israel of an indiscriminate bombing campaign in Gaza, but resisted pressure to call for a ceasefire and has seen public support for his handling of the crisis diminish. finish. He also presides over a very uncertain situation in Ukraine after Congress failed to pass fresh legislation renewing military assistance to the government in Kiev. President Volodymyr Zelensky made several visits to Washington during the year and earlier in December urged the resumption of U.S. support.
Ukrainians haven't given up and won't give up. We know what to do, and you can count on Ukraine, and we hope to be able to count on you.
President Vladimir Putin in Russia publicly claims his war aims have not changed, but privately is reported to have indicated he may be willing to negotiate a ceasefire if Kiev agrees to give up territory, a proposition that President Zelensky has described as insane. U.S. relations with China ended the year on the mend after President Biden met President Xi on the sidelines of the APEC summit in San Francisco. India welcomed world leaders to New Delhi when Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted the G20 summit, and BRICS, the grouping that brings together Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, announced plans to welcome 6 more members to the bloc. US President Donald Trump became the first ever occupant of the Oval Office to face criminal indictment. More than 90 separate charges in 4 jurisdictions, many of them relating to his efforts to subvert the outcome of America's 2020 election. Hollywood writers went on strike for 148 days. Actors also walked off the job. Both groups settled their claims that largely resolved around revenues from streaming services. And in June, 5 explorers died when the Titan submersible imploded on a journey to view the wreckage of the Titanic in the waters of the North Atlantic. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. Every new year brings a raft of elections in various parts of the world, but 2024 will be momentous. The United States, of course, will choose a new president in November, a race that currently looks like a rematch of 2020, with both Joe Biden and Donald Trump on course to face off against one another all over again. An autumn election is also possible in Britain, where Prime Minister Rishi Sunak remains in a quandary about when to call it. The opposition Labour Party retains a substantial lead in the opinion polls. A government reshuffle in November saw the departure of far-right Suella Braverman from the post of Home Secretary and the surprise return to government of former Prime Minister Lord David Cameron as Foreign Secretary. Taiwan holds its election on January the 13th. Voters will choose a successor to President Tsai Ing-wen. India holds an election in April and May. The world's largest democracy looks likely to re-elect Prime Minister Narendra Modi until 2029, especially given restrictions that have been placed on opposition lawmakers in the country. Russia will hold its presidential election in mid-March. President Vladimir Putin has announced his intention to extend his rule, which began in 1999. There is no doubt whatsoever about the outcome of that poll, even as the war in Ukraine continues. Elections will also be held in Bangladesh in January, Pakistan and Indonesia in February, Mexico and Belgium in June, and in South Africa on a date yet to be announced. There, the ruling African National Congress will face a massive test of the voters' tolerance for high unemployment, corruption, and decaying infrastructure, including a collapsing electricity grid. We'll bring you coverage of all those elections and all the rest of the major global news stories right here throughout the new year. And that is the Year in Review from Feature Story News. Simon Marks reporting.
Here is the Onion Week in Review Transportation Edition. In Albany, a Greyhound bus crash claimed 30 miserable lives Tuesday, finally putting over 24 deadbeat fathers, penniless drug addicts, and hapless bastards out of their misery. Emergency crews at the scene of the merciful accident described the sea of fast food bags, candy bar wrappers, and losing lottery tickets surrounding the crash site as utterly tragic, adding that the scorched corpses inside the bus were, quote, only slightly more lifeless than before the deadly accident.
Evidence suggests that most of the victims suffered during the crash, and for many years before they even boarded the bus. All I can say is, thank God no one made it.
Al-Qaeda is refusing to carry out any further terrorist attacks until the U.S. mass transportation infrastructure is drastically improved, calling the country's roads and bridges a, quote, travesty, unbecoming of a developed first world nation.
We want to turn your bridges into rubble. But if we took credit for making them collapse, no one would ever believe us.
This is the Onion News Network.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. And 603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160. And with you in the studio tonight, it's me, Bonnie.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
I always mute us during the breaks.
There will be no interruption until she intros the show back. That's all.
Yeah, it's like you move your mic around and that gets on the air. Ian will hit you if you do that.
He'll
Not
hit you.
really.
I've never been hit by Ian.
He wouldn't hit me. I was just kidding. Wow, it's not really making noise. It's kind of weird. But, okay, I already introduced us. I was about to do that again. I just want to finish off this story. I mean, we were talking about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who a lot of people are, like, fans of hers. It's a little weird.
Look, you get tortured that much for that long. I don't even care about the revenge side of things.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just more like, I mean, I get it, but I don't think it's normal to be a fan of hers.
Okay.
I'm interested in the story.
I think this is just another example of what happens when you have a monopoly in the service of disputes. So if we had a market in court systems, then you could actually trust that, hey, if I go to my court, I'll get justice out of it. And then she would have had options. She would have been like, okay, you know what? If I sue you in court, I'm going to actually get justice. You're not going to do this to me anymore. You're not going to do this to someone else. And you'll be punished for using me for obvious fraud. Whereas we don't have the kind of court system that can be relied on for justice.
Yeah, like
and she didn't even try, though.
She mentioned that her mom would tell her stuff like,
wrong there.
Okay.
I mean,
her mom would say stuff like, "Oh, no one will believe you. The cops won't believe you." And
she might have been true.
It could have been bad. She could have went to the cops. They didn't believe her, and then her mom is like double torturing her, or killing her, or something.
And then you stab the mom.
Yeah.
Right. Like here's the thing. Even with that, like the vigilante justice side of things, right? If you have free market justice, if you wrong somebody, you'll want to go to arbitration because the alternative is violence.
They'll kill you.
They'll kill you.
Right.
So like, I have wronged you. Yes. Let us go to court. I'm not willing to die over this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there you go. So the incentive is to go and provide some sort of justice. Otherwise, you just get stabbed, and that's the end of it. Or shot.
Right.
I'm fine with that too.
She served 85% of her sentence, and she's now 32. She posted her first selfie of freedom on Friday. As of Saturday morning, the post had racked up more than 5.5 million likes and 220,000 comments. Earlier this month, she announced that an ebook chronicling her experiences titled "Released: Conversations on the Eve of Freedom" will be published on January 9th. So she's already making some money for herself, not just living off her pen pal husband. It says Gypsy had already been the subject of a documentary film titled "Mommy Dead and Dearest" from HBO, and I'm just like stunned by that name. That's pretty, like, they give these true crime things and the serial killers weird names. People are like fans of this. People are
True
creating
crime is
a
a weird
market
topic.
for it.
Yeah.
It is weird.
There's a lot of podcasts and whatnot about true crimes, and
I was getting into it for a while, and then I
Okay.
realized I was too creeped out all the time. Like, I went from, I don't care, no one's going to hurt me in San Antonio. I don't care, I'll just make a uninterested face and not make eye contact with people if it's a creepy area, to like, I'm so scared in my own home. And I was like, wait, I got to stop watching those things, like on YouTube.
or just get strapped.
Well, I didn't think it was that easy to get a gun. I don't know. I didn't know where to start
Okay, but now you do.
or have any money. Well, I know where
All
to
right.
start
All right,
now, but
it's a good place.
So
Start at the beginning.
I got a little taser thing, but it was a terrible
Ooh.
one. It was like
All right.
that would never have really helped me because it's the type that's a stun gun, so you have to like go up to and touch someone.
Okay.
And I just felt like, how is this even protecting me? Like maybe to scare someone away. That's it.
All
and then
right.
I'd have to like
It's
reach
like
in
racking
and
a
get to
shotgun,
it.
man. You hear the little clickety clack. You go, oh, maybe I don't want to bother.
It's pretty loud. It
Yeah,
scares
I know.
Coconut, even though everything scares my dog, Coconut. That was basically it. I just wanted to finish that off to tell you guys why we even brought up Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And
She's
it's
out.
a really creepy
Hide your
story.
moms.
People have all kinds of different opinions on it. Like some people think that she should have got life like her boyfriend.
I don't think the boyfriend should have got life.
Yeah, I don't either.
Right.
Because he's autistic, and the only thing is he just keeps saying, "I'd do it again because I love Gypsy."
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah,
but,
it's dumb.
You know.
Well, I mean, the idea of, like, the argument for why you would want him to get life is, well, what if he gets another girlfriend and then kills for her too?
Well, yeah, that's why you don't say stuff like that.
Yeah.
Keep it to yourself and then do it again. Then you're just a repeat offender.
And then
Yeah,
you're
now,
in jail for life.
Yeah, the idea of him getting life and her getting a few years, that's... I mean, she used him as a weapon.
Yeah, I know. Like, she
So-
gave him the knife. That's the thing. It's like, it's not like I really want her to go for more. I feel like 10 years is, like, fair, maybe. Like, if she's going to go to jail, that's, like, fair. I don't know. It's hard to explain because I'm also, like, an anarchist.
Well, last week, because you were mentioning, like, the entire chain of command is guilty. So where does this fall on the chain of command? Like, she gave the order, he carried it out.
I think she's less guilty than
all
him.
the way.
I disagree with
Like,
that highly.
no.
I disagree so hard because it's like, are the people in Nazi Germany who are like, go and do this to the soldiers just as guilty as people shooting people in the back of the head? Like, that is not true. I don't think so. Because you can be smart and be like,
just adding
let me-
another machine to your gun.
You're not pulling the trigger on that machine.
If I push the button,
You didn't push
that
it.
then pulls the trigger
You can
on
talk
my
to the gun.
I am just
That's
as
not the same
guilty
thing,
as
Peakless. It's not the same thing. If you push a button, yeah. If you grab someone's arm and make them shoot a gun, that you're just as guilty. If you say words to a person and they decide to do something based on your words, that person is stupid and you're only like half
if I
as
tell
guilty.
you do this or I'll kill you, and
They didn't
you do
say
it,
they don't have to say that. That's different. That's threat.
If
Okay,
I-
threat is different.
That was
is
exactly
not
the
what
nature
it was.
of the. That was
no,
exactly,
it wasn't.
Nazi Germany. That
It
was
wasn't the
exactly
same way.
the circumstance. If
No,
you
it
defy
wasn't.
the state, they will kill you.
Hey,
No,
Bonnie,
it wasn't.
Hey, Bonnie, is Barack Obama a war criminal or did he deserve that Nobel Peace Prize?
He's a war criminal, but he's not as guilty as the people who went and shot someone in the head. If I was like going in and looking at an individual moment in Afghanistan of somebody getting hit by a drone strike, I would say the person who pushed that button is 100% guilty, and Obama is partially guilty for that death.
So life sentence for stabbing versus 10 years for giving the order to stab. That's an appropriate disparity.
I just don't think he should have got life because he also like it's the whole entire situation. Like he was defending his girlfriend. Like
Well, he wasn't,
not defending.
though.
Okay,
Yeah.
not defending. Yeah,
It's definitely revenge killing.
It was
she
like
deserved it, but it's
she
not
deserved
defense.
it, and also they felt like because they were stupid that they had to do it.
Okay.
They were like, "Oh, well, she's been like telling me my whole life that she'll get me back in, like blah blah blah. We can't go live by ourselves because she'll get me
track us down.
back
Yeah.
and all this stuff."
So what would if you were the judge, what would be commensurate to her sentence for him for actually doing the killing?
I wasn't in the whole trial, but you're asking me what would be good for him?
Yeah, if you're saying there's a disparity in, the effectiveness of giving the order versus actual stabbing.
I can't really think of myself as a judge putting someone in jail, but somebody who really killed someone, and I'm like a free market judge. I didn't hear the whole trial or anything,
Well, but you-
just off what I know,
You know he stabbed her. You know she got like 10 years or whatever.
and you know
Right.
she got 10 years,
Well, she got 10 years. She served 8 of it or whatever.
and then
but,
it based
but
off
that
that,
was 8 years. 8 years
Maybe
for
like-
giving the order.
maybe like twice as much, because like 20 years, I think he could be like fixed by then.
Okay.
He could change his mind.
So let's say I've got a gun. It's a special gun. It's got a trigger with a trigger.
Mhm.
Okay, now if I use my trigger with the trigger, that still counts as using the gun, right? So if I then use the trigger to use the trigger and I kill someone, like I aim
You're still
it,
doing a thing in physical
Okay,
space
okay.
that isn't just speech.
Okay, cool. Okay, so far we agree.
No, we don't. Oh, I was saying if somebody is using a double
Okay,
twit
so
trigger.
if I add an extra trigger, it doesn't count as murder. Good
no,
to know.
it does. That's what I was saying. Like, because you're still
Okay.
doing a physical thing in space. There's such a difference between doing a physical thing in space and saying
Okay.
words.
Okay.
Then that's what we're not agreeing on.
Hold on. Now, what if, as part of my trigger mechanism, I actually make it do a 50-50? It does a 50-50 random number generator. If it's odd, then it fires. If it's even, then it doesn't fire.
It's like Anton Chigurh in
I think it's just as guilty as not doing that. as doing it without the 50-50.
That's what hiring a hitman is.
No, it's not, because
that is literally what
hiring
it is.
a hitman
when you
is
hire a hitman, there is a percentage chance that hitman is going to do their job, and there's a percentage chance
it's not the same thing as doing something with your physical hands. Like, there is such a difference between the world of action and ghosts speaking into your ear. Don't you agree? Like, if a ghost can speak into your ear and tell you to do something, that's so much different than people with hands and the ability to manipulate things in space. So what I'm saying is, if you pull a trigger and knowing that you have a chance to kill someone, you're just as guilty as someone who pulled the trigger not thinking you have 50% chance. Because it's like, okay, you're still putting someone's life on the line for a chance. Like,
if you pull the trigger and the gun jams, are you still guilty?
Yes. Yeah, you
didn't even kill anybody.
It's called attempted murder.
Okay.
Attempted,
and
yeah, you're guilty of that.
Yeah, and we have a crime for that for a reason.
All right.
But
being an incompetent killer,
you seem to not have an opinion.
You less dangerous than a competent killer.
You seem to not have an opinion on this hierarchy thing. I think that this is how people get away with karma hurting them. Do you think Obama is dealing with the same karma that a bunch of guys who went to Iraq and actually killed people? Like, they're messed up in the head. I don't think he is.
Yes, he has tremendously bad karma. He is, however, unbelievably
he's living pretty
wealthy.
Great. Yeah, he's living great.
Yeah, you can do evil things and be rewarded in a single life.
People with PTSD because they killed people in Iraq, even if they're rich, they're not doing great. And I don't think Obama's that way.
Some people didn't get PTSD from doing that.
And a lot of those people are just like complete psychos.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that that's not like
Psychopaths still have bad karma.
And they still have bad lives, right? So I'm not saying that he's happy about it.
You're confusing karma with dharma for one thing, but just because you have bad karma doesn't mean that you will have bad things happen to you.
It's not necessarily in this life, but like throughout an entire life, you think you haven't seen like really bad things happen to people who have actually killed people? Do you know anyone who has? Because I do. Yeah. And their lives are terrible. Like it's themselves ruining their own like inhabitation in their body with drugs and like the way that they think of themselves, all the way down to like, and I'm talking about a specific person, old guy, killed people in Vietnam, and he's ruined his entire life, can't have a good relationship, ruined his family as soon as he got home, been on meth the whole time. He's not like having a good life. Like, I just don't think that there are very many people who are actually psychopaths, actually killed people, actually living a good life and truly happy, like deep inside. I don't think so. And in Obama, like, I'm not saying I know he's truly happy, but he doesn't give any kind of signs of being like, I'm about to get, end it all.
Well, of course
he's like
not.
Funding
that
movies
would reduce
and stuff.
his power.
The other thing is he may be a
power
psychopath.
addict. A power addict is going to act like a power addict in the way that a morphine addict is going to act like a morphine addict. They're going to do the things that it takes for them to get the thing that they are addicted to. He is addicted to power, so he doesn't allow his image to show any cracks because that lets people trust him with power less.
He doesn't really have like more power right now, does he? He's not like going and getting more and more and more power.
I mean,
the puppet master.
Seriously, like you think Biden's
he
running
controls
that White
Biden?
House?
I don't think Obama controls the White House because Obama is just as much as a puppet.
I think he is a big part of it. I think he is a big part of the leadership that is
and
currently in control. Why is that? Because he did his job well, and as a reward, they are letting him have
what
power.
evidence do you have that like Obama is doing anything in the White House right now? Like what like stuff do you see that you're like, oh, that screams
Obama? Because all of the other
Obama?
power brokers cozy up to him when he's at the parties.
Okay, well, I mean, that's just parties. Obama's like cool to
Okay,
them.
it's the times that we get to see these powerful people be social. And in the few times that we get to see the powerful people being social, this is what they do. So yeah, I think he still has a tremendous amount of power.
Because you have to a lot of people, though. Like, do they all have? He said he was going to do that.
He said he was gonna like his third term in office would be puppeting somebody else.
He said that?
Really?
Okay, then that's the kind of thing I'm asking you to tell me because I didn't hear that.
I don't remember the actual interview or the actual words that he said, but he intimated that that's how he would have a third term.
That's super weird. But I didn't get an answer, though. What do you think about the hierarchy thing? Like, if I tell you to kill someone, you kill someone, am I just as guilty as you, 100% as guilty?
Yeah, no, I'm more on your side on this. And when you talk to most people about this, right, the example that I bring up is like either Barack Obama is guilty of war crimes or Charles Manson is innocent. Because all he did was give the orders. He never killed anybody.
Yeah, no,
right?
I agree
So
completely with that.
So you can't have the dichotomy.
But there's also a difference between innocent and guilty of murder. Like he might be guilty of something else. It's not murder.
Well,
it's giving the order.
And
he's
while
guilty
I
of
get
giving
that
the
you
order.
and most people feel
And
this way.
but you're agreeing to what he just said, then you're agreeing with me. Because if he's guilty of murder, then like if Charles Manson never killed anyone, I don't really know much about him.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that Charles Manson is guilty
of murder.
And so is
Then we're disagreeing on that.
Right.
And you're disagreeing with him, but you said you agreed with him.
No. His statement was that either you believe that Obama is guilty of war crimes, or you believe that Charles Manson is innocent.
Except that I just did. I just explained to you how I have it both ways. He's not innocent of anything. He's not innocent of anything. And I'm not saying that Obama necessarily is guilty enough to even like have like jail time. Like he's not innocent or guilty of, as far as I know about him killing someone.
Do things, expected that they would get done, and they were correct. Now, either that is an okay thing to do,
this is what I'm saying.
Or it's not.
Okay, listen, I'm not talking about okay or not. I'm saying guilty of murder. I don't think that Obama is guilty of murder. I don't think that Charles Manson is guilty of murder, and I basically already explained it to you guys. Like, I think they're guilty of something else. It's not the same exact thing as beating someone to death with a hammer. How could you think it's the same exact thing? Like, those people have done the same thing. Like, that's not true.
So what is the order giver guilty of?
I don't know.
Okay.
But it's not murder. It looks like we have a caller on the line. Unscreened caller, what's on your mind?
Hi, this is Eric from California.
Okay, Eric from California, what's on your mind?
This is the first time I've ever actually heard you guys live. I usually listen like the morning after.
Oh, nice.
And
well, you're welcome.
And stuff. So, okay, maybe it's second time. The first time is they only put you on for an hour on our local radio station.
How dare they?
Well, call your program director and fix that. Remedy these problems for us, sir. We need your assistance. Okay.
Oh.
But, yeah, I was just stoked about that. And Bonnie, you have an excellent radio voice. And
thank you. Somebody told me that yesterday.
Jay Noon is a Chad.
Wait, what'd you say?
Jay Noon is a Chad.
Oh, yeah. I thought he said it sounds like someone murdered a cat right after he said I have an excellent
I assume
radio
you mean
voice.
the Chad with all the muscles.
What if you just gave the order to murder the cat?
Because like Chad has meant such different things in my time. Like it used to mean sort of the frat boy, like the consummate, like moronic.
I thought it is.
You mean
what
a
it
Kyle?
means. Oh yeah, you're right.
I guess so.
Okay.
You're right. I did think of it as that, and then I just realized the new term is more like someone who's awesome and cool.
Yeah, like a manly man.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Jay Noon is the most awesome, like, free stater. I don't understand why people play video games. I just want to take care of my wife and children type.
And grow my own food. And yeah, I want to get there at some point.
Is that all you had for us, Eric?
Studio apartment. What?
Well, good luck to you if that's what you want to do. I said, is that all you had for us today?
Yeah, I was just excited to hear you guys live.
Well, thank you so much for listening. And hopefully you can even contact the, what's it called?
Program director?
Program director, that you said.
Or in the interim, find the live stream on the internet.
Yeah,
right?
we
do a live stream on the internet.
We have the live stream at freetalklive.com. I had to fix it today.
Multiple nights a week that you can catch the show live.
It's actually, oh wait, yeah. Yeah, it's a multiple nights.
It is multiple.
Multiple nights a week.
Well, thank you for the call. I was going to say it is on every day, but I forgot those aren't live. So it's like Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. That's when it's live.
There you go.
Anyways, let's get into this story that Lee brought in today.
Again!
Oh, God, sorry. Oh, I thought I cussed just now when I said, oh, God. But, you see, you guys scared me, okay? So, yes.
Some people would call that a cuss.
Anyways, we have Peakless Mountaineer's
His name
story
had
here.
become a killing word.
But do you want me to read this about what exactly it is? Or do you have, like, a pretty good definition?
Bill Warren or something.
It's Elizabeth Warren's bill that she wants to do is that it has 5 co-sponsors. Warren expands coalition of banking committee support for bill cracking down on crypto's use in money laundering, drug trafficking, sanctions evasion.
Now do the same with the dollar.
Yeah, I thought she actually had like 20 sponsors.
Okay.
That's way less scary.
Oh, I see 5 new senators join.
Oh, 5 new ones. Yeah, that's much scarier.
Including 3
Standing
members
behind
of
her on
the
the couch.
banking committee, it says. It says United States Senators Elizabeth Warren, that's with an S. Anyways, announced an expanded coalition. Is she going by they, them now? So, United States
She goes
Senator,
by Native American.
Yeah. Elizabeth Warren.
She's a twin spirit, you see.
Announced an expanded coalition of Senate support for her bipartisan Digital Asset Anti-Money Laundering Act, which would mitigate the illicit finance risks that crypto poses by closing loopholes and bringing the digital asset ecosystem into greater compliance with the anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism frameworks that govern much of the financial system. But it hasn't said exactly what it is. It's going to talk about all the new people joining. It says the Treasury Department is making clear that we need new laws to crack down on crypto's use in enabling terrorist groups, rogue nations, drug lords, ransomware gangs,
the CIA,
and fraudsters to launder billions in stolen funds, evade sanctions, fund illegal weapons programs, and profit from devastating cyber attacks, said Senator Warren. She continues, I'm glad that 5 new senators are joining the fight to take action. And it's going to be the toughest proposal on the table, cracking down on crypto's illicit use and giving regulators more tools in their toolbox. But it hasn't really gotten into the stuff you told me about it, so what do you know about this new bill?
I think a lot of that's going to have to wait for a minute for us to actually get into it. But
well, fill the time anyway, people.
I will. I certainly will. So there's only 100 members of the Senate, and apparently 20 of them have already co-signed with this bill. So she doesn't have that far to go. And, you know, I'm hoping that it'll be one of the hundreds of bills that she's put forward that doesn't go anywhere. Because of the, 500 bills she's put forward, something like 3 have passed.
Ever or in 2 years? Okay. 603-283-6160. If you're on the line, please hold. And if you have something to say, you should call in. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Some of you have wanted to support Free Talk Live's mission on a monthly basis, but don't want to support Patreon. Now we have an alternative that also helps our premier streaming platform, Odyssey. Visit video.freetalklive.com and click Join at the top of the channel. You can subscribe for $5 per month, and unlike other subscription services, Odyssey adds their processing fee on top, so it'll cost a little over $5 per month, but Free Talk Live will receive the entire amount you pledged. Higher donation tiers are available if you're feeling so inspired. You'll get a special membership badge that's visible in the Odyssey chat room, and if we get enough supporters, we may enable members-only chat. This new subscription method is a great way to decentralize our direct listener support away from just Patreon and also support a libertarian-run business, Odyssey. Please visit video.freetalklive.com and click Join to subscribe to our Odyssey channel and help support spreading our message around the planet. Visit video.freetalklive.com and click Join today.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the year in review. And the year took a completely unexpected turn on October the 7th with the brazen, coordinated, deadly Hamas assault on Israel that took more than 1,400 lives and resulted in hundreds of people being seized and taken back to Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made an address to the nation in the hours after the biggest crisis his country had faced since the Yom Kippur War half a century earlier.
Israel is at war. We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most brutal and savage way. But though Israel didn't start this war, Israel will finish it.
In the ensuing weeks, Israel has taken massive military reprisals that have, according to the Gaza Health Authority, killed more than 20,000 people, including 8,000 children. The crisis in the Middle East has posed fresh challenges to U.S. leadership on the world stage. President Biden ended the year accusing Israel of an indiscriminate bombing campaign in Gaza, but resisted pressure to call for a ceasefire and has seen public support for his handling of the crisis diminish. He also presides over a very uncertain situation in Ukraine after Congress failed to pass fresh legislation renewing military assistance to the government in Kyiv. President Volodymyr Zelensky made several visits to Washington during the year and earlier in December urged the resumption of U.S. support.
Ukrainians haven't given up and won't give up. We know what to do, and you can count on Ukraine, and we hope to be able to count on you.
President Vladimir Putin in Russia publicly claims his war aims have not changed, but privately is reported to have indicated he may be willing to negotiate a ceasefire if Kyiv agrees to give up territory, a proposition that President Zelensky has described as insane. U.S. relations with China ended the year on the mend after President Biden met President Xi on the sidelines of the APEC summit in San Francisco. India welcomed world leaders to New Delhi when Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted the G20 summit, and BRICS, the grouping that brings together Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, announced plans to welcome 6 more members to the bloc. US President Donald Trump became the first ever occupant of the Oval Office to face criminal indictment. More than 90 separate charges in 4 jurisdictions, many of them relating to his efforts to subvert the outcome of America's 2020 election. Hollywood writers went on strike for 148 days. Actors also walked off the job. Both groups settled their claims that largely resolved around revenues from streaming services. And in June, 5 explorers died when the Titan submersible imploded on a journey to view the wreckage of the Titanic in the waters of the North Atlantic. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number for you to call to get in on the conversation with us. That's 603-283-6160, and with you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Bakeless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
And I think we should just go straight into the phones. We have Dave Ridley from RidleyReport.com on the phones with us. What's on your mind, Ridley?
Well, how closely have you guys been following what's been going on with TechDit lately?
I know that, so they're going to put in a bill to possibly ask the question to voters if they want to secede, but they need to wait for Republicans to go and validate all of the signatures that they got, and those Republicans are dragging their feet on purpose. Ian told me that, but that's all I know.
Well, that's what was going on a week.
Yeah, and
that's what was going on a week.
Oh, that was going on a week ago.
Yeah, and apparently the last time they checked and saw how popular this thing was, it was like 76% of Texan Republicans would vote for secession.
Wow.
Why are they dragging their feet then on the signature?
Because most of the Republicans don't
Oh.
like it, but there are several Republicans that do. Well, what's the new news then, Ridley?
Well, they turned in the requisite number of petitions, but the GOP has rejected. It's like about 100,000 petitions. The GOP said no good because you turned it in on the day of the deadline. You should have turned it in on the day before the deadline.
Wow! Oh my gosh,
That's not what a deadline is.
Yeah, that's not what a deadline is.
That is the claim at TNM.me, their official website.
They should sue them. I think that they can sue them.
All right, so I'm still a little confused. the GOP is dragging their feet because they don't want it to go through. But didn't you just say like a moment ago?
Oh yeah, the voters and the party
the humans.
want different things.
The humans,
okay, so
not the
76% of
parasites.
GOP voters.
Correct.
Okay, and the party is okay. All right, I'm clear. Continue.
So Dave,
the next thing that
go ahead.
The next thing that happened is that TNM, Texas Nationalist Movement, did what they always said they would do, and they have already filed suit, I think.
Oh, wow. So they said they'd sue them, and now they are already? Wow, that's fast.
Good.
I mean, I don't know how official that is, but it's they're suing them.
They should symbolically drag out the cannon again.
Did they do that there?
It's a Texas thing, the come and take it cannon. Yeah.
Well, and the what this says is obvious. So if the Texan people didn't want to secede, then these people who don't want Texas out of the nation because they like being a very powerful force in the world empire, they should just put it on the ballot, have it defeated roundly, and then say, no, we already tried that. And it'd be very compelling at that point. But they know very well, if this thing gets on the ballot, the Texan people want to be an independent country.
Well, then you still got to make sure who's counting the ballots, man. If the politicians are counting the ballots and they don't want it, there's no way it passes.
That depends, actually, on what the judge says.
Go ahead, Ridley.
In New Hampshire, we have decent poll numbers, that show 42% support for an independence referendum. However, in Texas, that number is 60%. And so it's likely that's what TNM folks keep saying is if we can just get on the ballot, we become independent.
Right.
And getting it on the Republican ballot is that's a heartbeat away from getting it on the overall ballot.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a big deal. It's the elephant in America's room right now that no one's talking about, just like, so many other things that blindside you and change history. But that is a 60% favorability rating is just off the chart, for independence. And it means that eventually it's probably going to happen.
Well, yeah. And the sooner the better. Because really, as soon as we can get one state to secede, other states are going to secede.
It'll domino.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that if they get it on the ballot and it doesn't win right away, it would still probably be pretty good because then people will be able to say 50%, or maybe not 50, 40% of people support this. It seems like it'd be more than that at this point with all the polls.
Well, and I think that's why they're fighting this so hard is not sure, even if it failed, it'd be a good step forward.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it's more reasonable for other states to put it on the ballot.
Yeah,
but I
that's
think they're
true.
fighting this as hard as they are because they don't think it's going to fail the first time. They think the second those Texans have a chance to cut away from the Union, they will.
Yep. I mean, if you follow Texas Nationalist Movement on Twitter, they have a super compelling list of reasons and videos they make explaining this stuff to the people, and I really think that it would only be in their own best interest for them to secede, just like New Hampshire. Thank you for the call, Dave. If anyone wants to hear more from Dave Ridley, go to ridleyreport.com. He's been reporting on local politicians in New Hampshire for years. He did a little bit in Colorado a couple years back or a year ago. And he took a short break, but now he's back on YouTube, BitChute, and Odyssey. And YouTube is the one that gets the most hits. Anyways, before the break, we were talking about this bill from Elizabeth Warren that Peakless Mountaineer wanted to talk about.
I did indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, and this is one of those, I think this is just stupidity and not evil, but...
I feel like she's evil.
I mean, so here's the problem. If this bill passes, literally everything is illegal.
Well, okay, so before the break, we talked about all the support she was getting. What does the bill actually say?
So one of the things that basically what the bill is about is changing what counts as a financial institution. I mean, it's very boring sort of behind the scenes stuff, or at least it seems that way. But it includes unhosted wallet providers will now be considered financial financial institutions and have to do all the reporting requirements that the banks are required to do.
But only for crypto. Like my leather billfold
Well, so
with US dollars in it.
Well, so here's the thing, though. The way that they define an unhosted wallet, the term unhosted wallet means software or hardware that facilitates the storage of public and private keys used to digitally sign and securely transact digital assets, such that the stored value of the property in the wallet and the owner and the wallet owner has total independent control over the value. Okay, so here's the problem with that.
Neopoints.
So the number 1, for example, is a wallet. Like that itself is the address of a private key.
What about the whole digital part in that you just read?
Yeah, no, I'm saying like the number 1 is, you can take the number 1 and you can send and receive Bitcoin with it. You can take the number 2. You can use that as the private key to send and receive Bitcoin. You can take the letter A, and you can use that to send and receive Bitcoin.
I'm a little lost.
Okay, so...
Like you can choose your wallet address?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like you've got your private key, and you have chosen a really, really obscure way of getting your private key here. You don't have to do that. Now, you don't have to do the 12 or 24 words fitting together that are this way of doing it. You can just take any ordinary number or letters.
Even if other people already have A?
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's the thing. So if they don't know that it's ABBA, then okay, that's your wallet. And if that's sufficiently secure for you, you can just use that.
Abba, Father.
Right. So like, for example, I could take the text of this bill, like the whole text of it, make a hash of that, and use that as my private key. But it gets worse than that. So like just the information itself of any given letter or number or combination of letters, numbers, and symbols, like period, is a wallet. Period exclamation point is a different wallet. Like, so just the information itself, these are all wallets. And anything that facilitates the creation of a wallet is an unhosted wallet provider.
So like a tweet?
So a tweet is a wallet provider.
That's stupid.
Your phone is a wallet provider. A piece of paper is an unhosted wallet provider. A pen is an unhosted wallet provider.
What does this mean by
Air
unhosted?
that we breathe in order to write things down facilitates a wallet.
Well, what about the unhosted part? What is that supposed to mean? Because like Edge Wallet, it's not hosted by a like you have custody of your
Right.
exchange, but
Because
it's still hosted somewhere.
Well, so that's the thing. It doesn't matter because it will be forced on you in the way that it specifies. So it is using unhosted wallet to mean this. So anything that facilitates a private key, which, as I pointed out, a private key includes a letter.
But then
or
they're
a
probably
number,
just gonna
or the Bible. You can use your version of the Bible. You can take the text of that, turn it into a hash, and that itself is a private key.
So,
won't they just define that too?
Well, let's assume I believe you, and let's assume the bill goes through. Doesn't that make the law so vague that it is unenforceable completely?
Depends on what a judge says, and that's kind of the problem. Is that it makes all human activity illegal. It makes all knowledge, all memory illegal.
Got it. So what judge is going to say like, yes, this is the way it's written. This is.
Well, if you look at what they tend to do, they usually go ahead and enforce it as it was intended instead of as it's written.
Well, so let's focus on that instead.
Okay, great. So this is going to make all use of this technology completely illegal.
Of Bitcoin, of crypto technology.
All cryptocurrency technology will be illegal in the U.S.
Okay. Is that going to stop you?
Is that going to stop me? It's going to make me leave the country is what it's going to do.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, pure and simple. If New Hampshire is still part of the U.S. and the U.S. starts enforcing this, then yeah, I have to leave.
Let's get into this. I have a little list here of what it would do. It says the Digital Asset Anti-Money Laundering Act would. First bracket point. Extend Bank Secrecy Act responsibilities, including know your customer requirements to digital asset wallet providers, miners, validators, and other network participants that may act to validate, secure, or facilitate digital asset transactions. 2. Address a major gap with respect to unhosted digital wallets, which allow individuals to bypass anti-money laundering and sanction checks by directing FinCEN to finalize and implement its December 2020 proposed rule, which would require banks and money service businesses to verify customers and counterparty identities, keep records, and file reports in relation to certain digital asset transactions involving unhosted wallets or wallets hosted in non-BSA compliant jurisdictions. There's more, but have anything to say about those?
My understanding is pretty simple that like anyone who has any of this stuff now has to report that they have it, and they have to report any use of it. So do you have a name? Well, that name is in fact a wallet. So if you're holding on to that, you better report that wallet. Oh, do you have a serial number on anything? Well, you have to report that serial number and tell us whether or not there are transactions coming in and out of it and who are making those transactions.
You have to file the reports in relation to them.
Exactly. And for example, every single bill,
Who's going to do that?
No one.
Well,
it's physically impossible. Okay, consider this: every single bill
why are you
has
worried?
a unique serial number on it. And it would make a very, very useful wallet because no one's going to know that you have that particular serial number. So you can just hang on to that $1 bill, use that particular serial number as your wallet.
Yeah.
So that
and then it's like hidden in plain sight. Oh, that's kind of smart.
I mean, there's any number of non-filing tax evaders in the United States at any given time. And I would presume that a lot of the crypto users probably are a good subsection of that.
Good percentage, yeah.
Right. So if they're already not filing government documents, and the government goes like, here's a new filing requirement that you must file, like they're not going to comply.
Well,
like that's
it also,
the whole point of crypto is like we don't comply.
Moving on in this bullet point, it also directs FinCEN to issue guidance to financial institutions on mitigating the risks of handling, using, or transacting with digital assets that have been anonymized using digital asset mixers and other anonymity-enhancing technology. Sorry, I thought I was going to say it directs them to like go after people. I was like, you might find yourself in a soup more often. So, I mean, like they have all kinds of technology. My neighbor, he reads all kinds of books, and I can't remember the name of any because he always suggests them to me, but I never, like, I'm not going to read them because it's just that it's not something I'm interested in. But he's read all kinds of books about how the government has been tracing Bitcoin, and they're really good at it. He says they can trace Monero.
Well, that's a stretch, but all right.
They talk about how they do it in these books. I could get the names for you.
Well, and the thing with Bitcoin is it's a public ledger. You don't, the government can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can see it.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it. You can look at all. It's like that hasn't stopped it thus far.
Right.
It's how do you associate your wallet on the blockchain with the individual who's like in control of that wallet.
They do it by figuring out like what IP address or utilized it and stuff like that. Like I don't know the exact details, but the neighbor says that they like, it doesn't matter. If they want you, they'll find out who it is.
Well, I mean that's true across the board, but then that means like don't even bother locking your doors because if you want to be found, they'll get you, right? And you can have that level of paranoia.
Yeah.
But I don't think the vast number of crypto users, Bitcoin users, are like on the government watch list for that level of paranoia.
Well, the vast majority may not be, but maybe people who talk about it on the radio. That's never happened before. Never mind.
Right. Well, like I buy Bitcoin from somebody, right? I've never been on on any of the I just lost the
mixers.
I've never used a mixer. I've never been on like Coinbase or any of those providers.
Exchanges, yeah.
I give people cash and they transfer Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And okay, like you got me, like my phone, the IP on my phone has it. But if I used a VPN, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
You can't, they can block all the on-ramps and off-ramps on the exchanges, but like peer-to-peer cash transactions are just as pervasive. And those are the ones that they won't be able to track. And those are the ones that before crypto came along was done in Federal Reserve notes and did all the money laundering, all the hitman hiring, right? All the shady drug deals. It was already being done in cash. And so they're not going to stop any of that. And they're not going to catch anybody who doesn't want to be caught. Right? Okay, you got me. I have crypto, but they don't have the keys to my wallet. They don't have the password to get on my phone. If they try too many times, whatever, it's encrypted somewhere. They can't take anything from me. All they can do is hold me in a cell.
It's good. All these things are good points. And to be fair, my neighbor who talks about that stuff is a really paranoid person. But let's read the last three things it says it will do. It will strengthen enforcement of BSA compliance by directing the Treasury Department to establish an anti-money laundering / CFT, I don't see what that means right here, compliance examination and review process for money services businesses and other digital asset entities with BSA obligations, Bank Secrecy Act obligations, and directing the Securities and Exchange Commission and Commodity Futures Trading Commission to establish anti-money laundering CFT compliance examination and review process. I feel like we already read that.
So if you're a high-level trader, maybe like Ian was, or you're running a Bitcoin ATM or vending machine, right? Maybe you're on their radar a little more than the average person, and maybe you take the necessary steps to get around that, or you just fall into compliance because you're not doing it for activism. You're not doing it to like stick it to the man. You're doing it because it makes you money. And if it makes you money, you just follow the rules and make the money.
So that's the thing. I mean, the reporting requirements on this are literally impossible to follow.
But it has been like that for a while. When they put it on the IRS form, when you fill out your taxes at the end of the year, how much value in cryptocurrency do you have? I'm like, who knows, man?
No. I mean, like, so for example, right now you can deposit from any address, right?
Sure.
So they don't know for sure, even though that went into your account, that it came from your wallet.
Right.
So that's one of the reporting requirements, is where did this money come from?
I'm not going to report it. I'm going to be one of those people that doesn't report it. The thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that just don't care. We'll slide under the radar as long as we can. Right. But it's one of those like strength in numbers. They can't get everybody.
And that's what sucks. A lot of people are going to do it.
And that's basically what this puts you down to, is you have to use the black market or they will put you in jail.
I already use the black market because it's safer.
I'm not suggesting that this will affect you.
Okay.
Unless they decide that it affects you. Because that's the problem here. You don't know how they're going to enforce it at a given time. So they'll start out by making it very crypto-focused. And then just expand, and eventually it's like, I'm sorry, you have a book, and books are wallets. So you go to jail because you had a book.
Okay.
Aren't they going to burn all the books before then?
Yeah. Well, it will be legal under this law to burn every book.
That's what all the dystopian novels tell me. Well, this other thing it says they're going to do.
That seems like a stretch.
The other thing it says they're going to do is to extend the Bank Secrecy Act rules. They're going to make it to where any person engaged in a transaction with a value greater than $10,000 in digital assets through one or more offshore accounts has to file a report of foreign bank and financial accounts with the IRS. And
I think your article is focusing on all the wrong things here.
I thought that was all it was going to do. There's only one more. Is there something else that you've...
So you do a crypto transaction, and it's on like a Chinese miner's ledger. You're like, oh, it's a foreign transaction. Is that it, really?
Yeah.
Seems like a stretch.
What sucks is like it doesn't go anywhere. It's never Bitcoin is in America now. Bitcoin is in China. It's always on the
Simultaneously.
same ledger.
Right.
Right.
It's not ever in China.
Yeah, and that's basically the problem that they're running into here, is that they keep trying to use old laws to enforce on a technology that is not applicable to those laws.
Well, then let's let them spin their wheels instead of pointing out how wrong they are.
Well, I'm just going to say the last thing, since it's the last thing here. It says it will mitigate the illicit finance risks of digital asset ATMs by directing FinCEN to ensure that digital asset ATM owners and administrations regularly submit and update the physical addresses of the kiosks they own, or update and verify customer and counterparty identity. And right now, like every ATM owner, really it's a kiosk. Really it's a vending machine, but every ATM owner files. Every ATM owner, basically. Because Ian's not an ATM vending machine owner anymore, and they all do it. That's why they all get in trouble.
Well, they got in trouble for not filing. And so again, if this is your business, right, this is how I make my money, right? You comply because it's not an activism thing.
Well, that's the thing. They comply, and then since they've given up their information and everything, then they get in trouble for something else. Like the guy in Texas who was on the show once, he was in trouble for, well, you were doing this thing and you didn't have the federal paperwork. And he was like, okay, well, there wasn't, or no, you don't have the state paperwork. He complied by telling them, this is me, to the feds. Yep. There was no such thing as state paperwork as in Texas. He said,
and the federal law requires that you have state paperwork, even though that state doesn't have any paperwork associated with it. It's
so
you didn't follow the rule.
Yep. So the way they got him was, instead of like a judge saying that makes sense, they were like, okay, well, if you don't take guilty plea, we'll go after your wife. So he just took a guilty plea. It was like a year and a half. But
well, there's your mistake right there.
It looks like we have a caller on the line. I don't know your name. Unscreened caller, what's on your mind?
I just think that's the worst thing that's ever happened.
I'm sorry, caller. Can you hold, because I didn't realize what time it was, and we don't have enough time in this break. We'll be back in like 8 minutes. It's Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160 is the phone number for you to call. That's 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. Rising fees have made Bitcoin useless for purchases, but Dash continues to have fees less than 1 cent per transaction, and its features ensure Dash is undefeated as the most useful cryptocurrency in the marketplace. From a technical standpoint, Dash transactions are irreversible, and its network is protected from 51% attacks by their Chainlocks technology. There's no need to wait for a confirmation before considering a Dash transaction complete, so it's great for merchants. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol, and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at dash.org. Big thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit dash.org to learn about Dash. Dash.org.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the year in review. And the year took a completely unexpected turn on October the 7th with the brazen, coordinated, deadly Hamas assault on Israel that took more than 1,400 lives and resulted in hundreds of people being seized and taken back to Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made an address to the nation in the hours after the biggest crisis his country had faced since the Yom Kippur War half a century earlier.
Israel is at war. We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most brutal and savage way. But though Israel didn't start this war, Israel will finish it.
In the ensuing weeks, Israel has taken massive military reprisals that have, according to the Gaza Health Authority, killed more than 20,000 people, including 8,000 children. The crisis in the Middle East has posed fresh challenges to U.S. leadership on the world stage. President Biden ended the year accusing Israel of an indiscriminate bombing campaign in Gaza, but resisted pressure to call for a ceasefire and has seen public support for his handling of the crisis diminish. He also presides over a very uncertain situation in Ukraine after Congress failed to pass fresh legislation renewing military assistance to the government in Kyiv. President Volodymyr Zelensky made several visits to Washington during the year and earlier in December urged the resumption of U.S. support.
Ukrainians haven't given up and won't give up. We know what to do, and you can count on Ukraine, and we hope to be able to count on you.
President Vladimir Putin in Russia publicly claims his war aims have not changed, but privately is reported to have indicated he may be willing to negotiate a ceasefire if Kyiv agrees to give up territory, a proposition that President Zelensky has described as insane. U.S. relations with China ended the year on the mend after President Biden met President Xi on the sidelines of the APEC summit in San Francisco. India welcomed world leaders to New Delhi when Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted the G20 summit, and BRICS, the grouping that brings together Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, announced plans to welcome 6 more members to the bloc. US President Donald Trump became the first ever occupant of the Oval Office to face criminal indictment. More than 90 separate charges in 4 jurisdictions, many of them relating to his efforts to subvert the outcome of America's 2020 election. Hollywood writers went on strike for 148 days. Actors also walked off the job. Both groups settled their claims that largely resolved around revenues from streaming services. And in June, 5 explorers died when the Titan submersible imploded on a journey to view the wreckage of the Titanic in the waters of the North Atlantic. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. Every new year brings a raft of elections in various parts of the world, but 2024 will be momentous. The United States, of course, will choose a new president in November, a race that currently looks like a rematch of 2020, with both Joe Biden and Donald Trump on course to face off against one another all over again. An autumn election is also possible in Britain, where Prime Minister Rishi Sunak remains in a quandary about when to call it. The opposition Labour Party retains a substantial lead in the opinion polls. A government reshuffle in November saw the departure of far-right Suella Braverman from the post of Home Secretary and the surprise return to government of former Prime Minister Lord David Cameron as Foreign Secretary. Taiwan holds its election on January the 13th. Voters will choose a successor to President Tsai Ing-wen. India holds an election in April and May. The world's largest democracy looks likely to re-elect Prime Minister Narendra Modi until 2029, especially given restrictions that have been placed on opposition lawmakers in the country. Russia will hold its presidential election in mid-March. President Vladimir Putin has announced his intention to extend his rule, which began in 1999. There is no doubt whatsoever about the outcome of that poll, even as the war in Ukraine continues. Elections will also be held in Bangladesh in January, Pakistan and Indonesia in February, Mexico and Belgium in June, and in South Africa on a date yet to be announced. There, the ruling African National Congress will face a massive test of the voters' tolerance for high unemployment, corruption, and decaying infrastructure, including a collapsing electricity grid. We'll bring you coverage of all those elections and all the rest of the major global news stories right here throughout the new year. And that is the Year in Review from Feature Story News. Simon Marks reporting.
If you're the parent of a man-child, you know how frustrating it can sometimes be. The piercing sound of his video games waking you up at 2 in the morning. His insatiable hunger and inability to cook anything for himself. The messes he makes. The stress can be overwhelming.
Something will set them off, such as their man-child will tell them that they don't know how to tie a tie even though they're almost 30. They'll start shaking them and yelling and saying, "What the hell is wrong with you? Why don't you get a real job instead of working part-time at a board game store?"
The results of shaken man-child syndrome are devastating. Trauma caused by the brain colliding with the inside of the man-child's skull can lead to cognitive disabilities, making it even more unlikely he'll finally marry the girl he's been having a long-distance online relationship with for 6 years, or it can even lead to death.
He's not spilling cereal all over the couch or leaving his beard clippings in the bathroom sink intentionally. He truly does not know what he's doing.
For the Lab Report, I'm Stuart Adams.
This is the Onion News Network.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. It's talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number for you to call to get in on the conversation with us. That's 603-283-6160. And with you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Bakeless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
And it looks like we already have a caller on the line, so I'm going to go straight to you guys' calls and thoughts. Jet, in the West somewhere. What's on your mind, Jet?
Well, you know how I like to call up and talk about strange things like the borders and things that just don't seem to make sense. I consider them
borders. What are those?
Delusions of the masses is what it is. And my underlying question in my life is always: are most people mentally ill?
Yes.
I mean, to be under this delusion, I mean, there's got to be something. Because, and the reason I'm focusing on borders, is because they make no sense. You know, I don't think they made sense when they were first established. It wasn't as though there was any geopolitical grouping of people that said, okay, we all agree that this is our little area. And
well, does territory make sense to you?
Well, yes, small territories.
Okay,
and that's why in a lot of cases I propose that the best situation might be city-states. But anyway,
well, hold on. So if territories make sense to you, then why do borders not make sense to you?
No, I mean territories in the smaller sense. Small territories.
Okay, number one,
like
where do you draw the line? Number two, what difference does that make?
Well, you can make a physical border around your backyard.
Right.
Have you guys ever seen the map of the wolf packs?
No. Oh yeah, how they make
They have borders.
They stay in their own little lanes.
They stay in. Yeah. Well, they have a territory, right? There's no political designation for it. Surprisingly enough, they stay within their bounds.
Yeah, I mean, there's basically two sort of mutually exclusive concepts of territory. Or of property ownership. And one concept of property ownership is you have a right to whatever you can keep. And what you can keep is what's in this territory. So, okay, you conquered this chunk of North America. Now you have a right to that chunk of North America, and you can rule what is in that chunk of North America the way that you see fit.
Like the U.S. federal government?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And in the legal system, that conquest is the foundation of property. And it was one of the earliest pieces of one of the earliest cases that was the foundation of the legal framework was, okay, the natives said that they own this, and they said, nope, we conquered it, and since we conquered it, we can't acknowledge your ownership of that property. So that is one property of ownership theory. Now, I think that leads to a whole lot of strife. I think it doesn't make any sense.
Especially
and it's
when a
basically just
non-person owns something like the United States.
You basically end up with that problem one way or the other, though. So, like, two people are going to be able to control more territory than one person does. Now, 20 people will control even more, and once you get into higher and higher numbers, then you have to have organizations in order to say, okay, who does what in this organization of territory control, and then that organization has its own sort of pattern to it. So even if this person is no longer a member of this organization, and this person now is, it still acts in the same way.
So the President of the United States owns all the territory of the United States through the organization of the United States federal government by proxy, and then cedes ownership to the new president every 4 to 8 years.
Not exactly.
All right.
No, it's the people.
Well, that's what they say.
And that's
but if we're gonna say they conquered it, the people didn't conquer anything.
Oh no, they absolutely did. The people conquered it. And since the people conquered it, then the people get to own it.
Jet?
That's all an interesting discussion, but let's get back to the mental focus of the idea that there's this mass delusion going on that somehow, and I've pointed out before, that every so-called state within this thing we call the United States has straight lines. So there was at some point that they just decided that on this side is something and on that side is something. Now, the reason I bring this up is I live near one of those weird borders where it's invisible. Yes, there's a creek that runs through that sets two sides, but there's nothing political that separates the two people. It's not like there's a certain tribe on this side and a tribe on that side that seem to all believe one thing or another. So I'm focusing in on the mental state of the general people who accept this idea that somehow special buildings going up and people walking around in special uniforms and flying a flag and having a specific this, that, or the other thing, that somehow makes sense to most people. They accept it, they adopt it, and they function.
Well, I think Peakless just explained it. That's your conquest theory.
So I mean, like, let's say, for example, a gang is in a particular neighborhood of a city, and they have a particular color that they wear, and they make particular tags to show that this is their part of the city. And what you know for sure is that if you say try and sell some marijuana at that particular corner, you will be picking a fight with this particular gang, and they will have some probability of shooting you for trying to deal drugs in their territory. It's basically the same idea.
Talk about the mentality. Let's get back to the mentality. How is this mass delusion maintained and engendered to where people in general think that that's okay? It's okay to create territories. It's okay to block off.
Because the landowner runs the schools.
Well, and because they identify with that landowner.
Yeah.
Like they really believe that they are that entity.
Well, you just called them we the people. They think they're part of it.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a mass delusion, and most people are bordering on, mental illness, just like the folks running around in costumes are mentally ill in my mind, because they honestly believe that they have these superpowers, or that they're morally superior or even intellectually superior to everyone else.
And even the people who believe that about them are mentally ill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think we disagree with you. You asked for an explanation, and that explains it.
Yeah, it's the same sort of issue with, like, a particular deity might not exist, but I can be totally sure that the people who believe that deity exists will kill me for something.
Drawing a picture of it?
For example.
Can't let those people in our borders.
Yeah, but that's part of my point too. It seems that the only thing that borders actually do is create conflict
or peace.
Well, I mean, it doesn't actually create
Pakistan and
conflict
India?
so much as just redirect it.
But didn't Pakistan and India create peace a little bit?
I don't want my neighbor's, tree droppings falling into my yard. That's why we have a fence between us.
Yeah, and I think Pakistan and India, they just kind of deferred they're bound to fight each other eventually, but for now they can stay on their side of the line.
And I'm not saying it's necessarily nice that it's a government line, but like people can come together and do that, right? And that would be fine. So it's not really like mentally ill. Just believe in the idea of territories, like because your backyard is your territory, like you said.
Yeah,
I just think
staying on your property is peaceful. Trespassing onto mine is a conflict.
I think you're missing here is the part about it that's mentally ill is the idea of public property. That's mental illness. That we can all just equally own a thing. That's mental illness.
Well, in overall, I tend to try to promote this idea that if anyone wants to gather up into small groups, into tribes, that I think a city-state, if at the very least, would be the most profitable as far as reducing conflict and maintaining peace. And then you could deal with that within that the confines of that small area, just like.
But the moment you set up that small area, you've got to protect the borders from those that you don't want coming in.
Yeah, like there will be certain expectations of human behavior in that territory, and at some point, those expectations do not apply, and that is a border.
Well, that's all I'm doing. I'm just bringing up things for people to think about, and you have the broadcast forum to be able to disseminate some of this idea. And I think freedom can be gained through the enlightenment or the expansion of one's thought processes. The idea that these things that currently exist don't have to exist. They don't have to. I don't have to be suppressed, oppressed, repressed by these concepts. That somehow I can get beyond them, and if I do within my own mind, then that could extend to the family, to the community, and
I think you can free your mind. You're still going to get shot by one of these dullards.
Yeah, I think there's a transition between the territory concept and the property concept that is based on I mixed my labor with nature. So like in the forests between Canada and the US, there's this big chunk where they just cut down all of the trees to show where the line is. And that's actually pretty reasonable. Like, okay, this was nature, the forest. You can see it on either side of this line. And then we mixed our labor with nature right here. This looks really weird. It's pretty obvious to see that this is artificial. So we own this. Now, if I cut my lawn, I can say you're not allowed to walk on my lawn. I own that. I mixed my labor with nature. I can do what I want with it, which means that I can tell you you're not allowed to use it.
My biggest issue with your theory, and I guess this is the best time to bring it up, is that
Thank you for the call,
I
by the
don't
way,
see how
Jen.
it accounts for nature preserves. Like if I want to like own land and just leave the nature pristine, right? I believe I should still be able to own it if I can defend it.
Well, you can defend it and preserve it because, like forests, they can't just sit there.
But I haven't mixed my labor with it.
Well, if you don't want to do that.
And that's exactly the problem. Like, okay, what's not a nature preserve? I hereby claim Earth as my own personal nature preserve.
Yes, and now you have to defend it, and you cannot.
It creates conflict. Fundamentally, it creates conflict to take ownership of something that you have no right to by mixing your labor with it or someone else mixing theirs with it and then giving it to you.
So you think that him just owning a small pristine nature area and saying, I don't want to do anything to this, not even take care of the forest, like get rid of the debris and stuff like people are supposed to do. I don't want to do any of that. If a forest fire happens, it happens. And this is my area. Like, and he defend it.
That's not going to avoid conflict.
Yeah, but it's not wrong. That if somebody attacks you for doing something that's
wrong to
no, it's not.
nature
If somebody, it's not morally wrong. If he takes some nature and it belongs to him, and he is sitting around waiting, like letting people in and out to look at it or something like that,
or
making
money
off of it.
If I just want to enjoy it, because
look, if you claim any part of nature, you're wrong. So fine, I claim all the oxygen in this room. It's mine now.
I was going to say
you
you're
have
right.
to defend it.
I think that we might be
Okay,
right.
I'm going to start beating you.
You could try, and then we fight. That's the thing.
Okay, so
You
let's
have
assume
to be able to defend
Let's
it.
assume
If you're gonna make a
hypothetically.
claim-
Let's assume hypothetically that I do this.
Yeah.
That I just start wailing on you, and let's say that I win.
Yep.
That gives me the right to that air.
It does. It
And then I
absolutely
can
does.
tell you, look, you need to pay me $100 a day to start breathing my air.
You absolutely could.
Oh,
I don't
so
think that's
taxation
right.
isn't
Okay, you
theft
could
then.
do
That's-
a thing, but that
that's your
doesn't make it
conquest
right.
theory. Yeah, it doesn't make it
here's
right.
the thing. Here's the thing. I think that I'm more convinced to your side now, because if you don't even want to like let people in and let them look at it, like what right do you have to do that if you just put a fence around a thing?
If I mow the grass, all of a sudden it's okay to exclude people?
No, I didn't
If you
even think
mow
you
the
were
grass, then
excluding
you own
people.
that grass that you mowed.
I
Well,
got it, but I'm
if
saying
you-
I don't want to mow the grass. I want.
I think it's
want the
more than just
pristine-
mowing
I don't
the grass,
wanna
like, he
do
lives
the
there.
work. I just want to own the thing.
And plus, like, it's
I
more
wanna
than
keep
just
it
mowing
pristine.
the grass, isn't it? Like, it's like you live there.
No, you don't have to live there. Why do you have to live there? You can own You can be. You can own things away from where you reside.
Or do property there, or do business there or something.
Whatever. I don't care.
Because, like, if you're just sitting there with a fence
just
around
saying-
something with a shotgun in case someone gets close to it, I do kind of think that's wrong.
The mixing labor
I don't
with
know.
nature has the fundamental flaw in the mixing labor with nature is that it leaves no nature left pristine.
Yeah, but that's
Good.
just that you're just putting that value on something. Like, yeah, I kind of agree that is a sad thing, but a lot of people
You're
might
right.
not value that. Like, especially if like the Earth populates so much, we need more.
They might not, but I do, and so I should be able to defend that plot
If you
from
want
that
pristine
encroachment.
nature, go further.
Well,
Go to where people aren't, and you'll find your pristine
under
nature.
your theory, I still wouldn't own it. And if
You're
someone
right. You
and if-
still don't
and if
own
someone-
nature.
And if someone encroached on it with a weed whacker, they've just usurped my property.
It wasn't your property.
Here's the thing,
It
like,
was
let's just
nature.
make it a rock. Like, I think that I can see Richie Rich's side more if it's just some big rock. Like, what if he's like, I don't want this rock to get walked all over because it's a cool shape. It's like as big as a house, and he can't live on it. He wants to preserve it, but
And
I
someone
don't
comes
see
with a
why
rock
he.
chisel and goes, dink.
Yeah, I don't think
Now they own it.
he really has. I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's
To own
wrong.
well, look, the whole point of property as a concept is to avoid being constantly at war with everyone all the time.
Then just leave my little plot of pristine nature alone.
What if he just thinks it's a different point? Like you say that's a point. It's a good point in my book and everything, but it's like, what if Richie Rich says that's not a good enough point of private property? I want it for a different reason, and my reason is I want to preserve this rock.
Okay, I want to preserve everything. It belongs to me now.
Then you have to defend it. We've been over this like 3 times. in
Then
the same
we're at
conversation.
war with
Yes.
everyone all of the time.
No, just over the rock. Just
How
the
do you
rock.
know I didn't claim the air you're already breathing? You're already at war with me. See, that's the whole point.
No.
Is that your concept of property does not avoid conflict.
And much like everything you bring up, there's a slippery slope. Not everyone's going to go to war because not everyone's going to make ludicrous claims like you. People are going to respect the wishes of others.
Sooner or
to be
later,
peaceful
someone's
neighbors.
going to want your patch.
The other thing is, it's
Someone's
just
going to be like,
defend
hey,
it.
we found this new particular mineral that happens
Yes.
to be where your nature preserve is.
Which is why I stand by the defense theory.
Okay, well then what's the point of property if defending it is the definition? What is the point of the concept of property?
Because
if it
most
is no different, then here's what I can force you not to use.
Because most people are not going to act maliciously. Most people, like my neighbor, is not going to suddenly steal my house. He's got his own, and it's a risk to do so. Most people will opt to live peacefully amongst their neighbors.
I mean, honestly, what is Richie Rich's claim to even just a rock he found in nature if your claim is that no one can own any nature without doing any work to it? He might have not done anything to the rock. The other thing is air is not as definable as a rock.
Okay, well I officially claim all
This
of the
is a
stars
rock.
in the sky.
Then you have to defend it.
I am. Look at me go.
There you go. And if no one's offering a counterclaim and no one's at war with you for it, it's as good as claim as anything else when you get to name the star and you give it as a gift to your sweetheart on Valentine's Day. Look, honey,
That's a
I
weird
named a
one.
star
the
after
whole
you.
point of
Who
having
cares?
rules that
Nobody
we agree
cares.
on.
Nobody's going to counter that claim. Nobody's going to. That's my star up there, and now we must fight. Nobody cares.
For now.
Forever.
Well, and no, that's the problem. Look, if you claim this nature preserve, the whole point of having a claim on it, of having a right to it, is that I then go, in order to have your respect of my property, because we have these rules of what is and isn't property. So in order for you to not break my phone, I will not invade your nature preserve.
Okay, deal. Now we have a
Okay.
deal. So stay off my nature reserve.
Except that now I'm going to go ahead and claim all of your nature preserve.
No, because I'm
It's
going
mine
to
now.
defend it.
Well,
right.
what about the
so
fact
then
that
we're
putting
at
a
war again.
What about the fact that
Because you're not respecting the claim.
What about the fact that
You're
putting
being a dick.
putting a fence around the nature preserve is mixing your labor with it? Even
I put a
defending
fence
it,
around everything. You just can't see it.
you can't defend it. See, like
can't
you
defend
keep
it.
going back to that. If we're
Right.
actually trying to get to the logical conclusion, you keep going back to that. So if it's like a
The
small
whole
enough,
point of having rules about this is that I don't have to defend it because we respect each other's property.
Then respect the nature
You're not,
preserve.
Why
you're
don't you-
not
I don't get that.
protecting
You're
most
not-
of your property most of the time because most of the time most people know what the rules of property
Then
are.
I should be able
and
to have a
respect
nature
them.
preserve.
yeah, if it's small enough that he can preserve it and he lives like right outside it or something, and he's like anytime someone's walking up, he could go up and be like, "Hey, read the sign."
The only
I don't
person
really see how
threatening
it's
my
wrong.
nature preserve is you.
That's
We're
because-
at war because you claimed it.
Well,
And
it's
that's
because
the
I'm
thing.
literally
If
the only
somebody-
other person who knows about it.
If somebody commits evil against you when you're not doing anything wrong, I just don't see how it could possibly be that person's fault. It's like blaming the victim.
I put it on the blockchain. This is Richie Rich's nature preserve.
Okay, I put on the blockchain that I own everything.
And then you have to
Ta-da.
defend it.
Oh my God, I think
The whole point of having agreements is not to defend the things that we agree that each other owns.
Not everyone's going to
Now,
agree
if we
with you.
can't-
That's why we
That's
put locks on the
subjective.
doors.
See, that's just a subjective point you keep making. Like, it's not that I think it's a bad point. It's just that I don't see how it's like fact, written in stone, fact of nature, that's the point of property. Like, my point of property might be something else. Like, just like feeling safe where I am. Like, if we're talking about property that you own that's land.
Right. Feeling safe where you are. That is one of the ways that we avoid conflict.
Until Peakless Mountaineer shows up with a bear cat
Right.
and smashes through the
Which
window.
is what happens when someone stops respecting property.
I got it. So but in this example, you're the only one not respecting my nature preserve.
That's what I'm confused about. Like, I almost feel like you're arguing against yourself. Like, if you're the only one who doesn't want him to have the nature preserve, but everybody else on Earth doesn't care, for example.
Okay, everyone else on Earth is using the form of property rights that Richie Rich is using, which is if you can defend it, then you have a right to it.
Or what if it's like so far
Now,
out and no one
as
cares?
such, you have no right to any of the taxes that they try to extract from you because they're defending that property. So you really ought to give the IRS everything they ask for because you don't have a right to that property. You're not defending it. They are.
Well, if I hire a defense organization, sure, I could pay for one.
But right now, you haven't done that.
Well, then you could say the same for anybody paying property taxes or any sort of taxes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, if you believe in the territorial property, if you
I'm not saying
believe in
territorial
property through conquest, then yeah, every government is legitimate because they have enough power to do so.
Which is also why I call for the overthrow of government so that we can resume our property rights.
603-283-6160. There's another segment coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's Free Talk Live.
A cool guy from middle school is still sporting his fat pair of Jinkos. A stunned St. Peter's Square crowd hears the Pope getting bitched out by God, and an 8th grader caked in makeup is probably really confident. This is The Onion Week in Review. This week, a Pew Research Center poll found that the vast majority of Americans would watch a television show called Love Trap, with most saying that regardless of the show's genre or quality, they would tune in weekly to see its stars stumble into romantic triangles, double-cross one another, and contend with whatever the titular love trap refers to.
to. The survey confirmed that 62% of Americans would likely watch Love Trap to see a shrewd but cold-hearted Southern belle named Tammy. 23% of the nation hoped the show would be referred to as The Trap by its most loyal fans, and 15% of respondents said they simply needed something to watch. And in this week's science news, a biologist completes a 5-minute study of the pathetic organism in his mirror. In other news, a man confidently hits send on the worst job application a company has ever seen.
This is the Onion News Network.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the year in review. And the year took a completely unexpected turn on October the 7th with the brazen, coordinated, deadly Hamas assault on Israel that took more than 1,400 lives and resulted in hundreds of people being seized and taken back to Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made an address to the nation in the hours after the biggest crisis his country had faced since the Yom Kippur War half a century earlier.
Israel is at war. We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most brutal and savage way. But though Israel didn't start this war, Israel will finish it.
In the ensuing weeks, Israel has taken massive military reprisals that have, according to the Gaza Health Authority, killed more than 20,000 people, including 8,000 children. The crisis in the Middle East has posed fresh challenges to U.S. leadership on the world stage. President Biden ended the year accusing Israel of an indiscriminate bombing campaign in Gaza, but resisted pressure to call for a ceasefire and has seen public support for his handling of the crisis diminish. He also presides over a very uncertain situation in Ukraine after Congress failed to pass fresh legislation renewing military assistance to the government in Kyiv. President Volodymyr Zelensky made several visits to Washington during the year and earlier in December urged the resumption of U.S. support.
Ukrainians haven't given up and won't give up. We know what to do, and you can count on Ukraine, and we hope to be able to count on you.
President Vladimir Putin in Russia publicly claims his war aims have not changed, but privately is reported to have indicated he may be willing to negotiate a ceasefire if Kyiv agrees to give up territory, a proposition that President Zelensky has described as insane. U.S. relations with China ended the year on the mend after President Biden met President Xi on the sidelines of the APEC summit in San Francisco. India welcomed world leaders to New Delhi when Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted the G20 summit, and BRICS, the grouping that brings together Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, announced plans to welcome 6 more members to the bloc. US President Donald Trump became the first ever occupant of the Oval Office to face criminal indictment. More than 90 separate charges in 4 jurisdictions, many of them relating to his efforts to subvert the outcome of America's 2020 election. Hollywood writers went on strike for 148 days. Actors also walked off the job. Both groups settled their claims that largely resolved around revenues from streaming services. And in June, 5 explorers died when the Titan submersible imploded on a journey to view the wreckage of the Titanic in the waters of the North Atlantic. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. It's talk radio that you control. And 603-283-6160 is the phone number here. That's 603-283-6160. And with you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
And Richie Rich.
Sorry about that. I keep forgetting to unmute him for some
reason.
And
we put out Peakless for claiming all the air in the room. He has been defended against.
We've defeated him.
Has been defeated.
It was mostly me.
Well, I mean, by your theory, if the U.S. can defend what you think of as yours, then it's actually theirs.
See,
which again is why we ought to fight back.
So me and Mark actually talked about this. Me and Mark talked about this on a Freer Talk Live after show, and he made the claim the United States does in fact own it because they say they do. And I said, well, the United States doesn't exist. So like that's stupid. Like you can
Right.
say I'm the United States, but
Okay.
who do they point to that is the United States? There's no one.
Okay, so let's deal with that one then. Okay, once we've established that it's actually your ability for conquest that defines property, because that's your ability to defend it. So now that that's okay, well, you and Ian can jointly own a thing,
But
can't
then
you?
you could point to me and Ian. That's the thing. Like
Right,
if you pointed to
right.
the Shire Free Church, who
And
owns
we
the
can
Shire
say
Free Church?
the
No
Freemans.
one owns the
Well-
United States.
And I would say when they come to take it from you, you ought to defend it.
Have you ever asked someone in court who the city of Keene is? I have. Have you ever asked somebody in court who the United States is? I've seen people do it.
I've called the
They
state of
don't answer
Hawaii to
it.
the stand.
So
Yeah.
I can say the Freemans.
Like,
and be
exactly,
referring
because if we own a company, that's fair game. If we just say this is the United States, it's not us. We have no legal right to listen to you about anything, but it belongs to us. See, that's I think different. Like if we're just putting people in jail, we are unanswerable to them. You can't call us to the stand, but secretly behind the scenes, like that's what's wrong about the United
if
States.
you can put people in jail, then you obviously own them. You have the power
I'm not agreeing
to
with that
defend your
either.
property. Yeah, no, I don't think that having the power to defend the property makes it yours. That's insane. That's the very thing that we're trying to avoid, because once you've established that, then everyone is just constantly figuring out what they can steal.
Well, I do have
Only
to.
you, man.
I
Everybody
do
else is
have
trying
to
to be
tell
peaceful.
you guys that this whole hour is brought to you by Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. Rising fees have made Bitcoin useless for purchases, but Dash continues to have fees less than 1 cent per transaction, and its features ensure Dash is undefeated as the most useful cryptocurrency in the marketplace. From a technical standpoint, Dash transactions are irreversible, and its network is protected from 51% attacks by their chain locks technology. There's no need to wait for a confirmation before considering a Dash transaction complete, so it's great for merchants. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges including the decentralized Maya protocol and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at dash.org. And a big thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit dash.org to learn more about Dash. Dash.org. So, I have this story here from the Wall Street Journal, and I started it the other day, but we never got into it, so I just wanted to actually get into it for the listeners. It says, a moving company touts its young, chiseled workers. Feds say that's age discrimination.
It's like Hooters all over again.
Yeah, it is like that, but for men. Hooters for men.
There you go.
Well, the federal government's got some gall accusing someone else of age discrimination. They won't let me pick up a social security check.
That's a good point. A moving company shows off the clean-cut, chiseled student athletes who pump iron before loading your furniture.
Is it College Hunks? Because I used to
Oh,
give out flyers for one of theirs.
I don't know if that's the name because you said that, but
Okay.
I haven't seen the name of it yet. But it says the federal government says that's a problem. That just sounds like a Karen, you know? That's a problem.
I want little old ladies lifting my heavy boxes.
The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission sued Fresno, California-based Meathead Movers this
Nice.
year. That's funny. For violating age discrimination law by not hiring enough older workers.
To do what? To lift the heavy boxes?
I guess so.
No, this is like job-specific requirements, man. You got to be able to lift the stuff. If you can't lift the stuff, you can't do the job.
At some point, are they going to say it's discrimination that you chose somebody who knows how to work a computer for like a computer job?
Probably.
I'm sure that their argument is that, well, they were fully capable of lifting things, but you didn't hire them because they weren't sexy.
Yeah, that may be true, too.
Employment attorneys and trade groups say the case will offer clues as to how the agency will approach anti-discrimination laws now that President Biden's picks are installed. Commissioners voted 7 times on age discrimination matters since Democrats gained control in August.
That moving company is going to go out of business if they hire old people.
Yeah.
Because they're going to hire old people. The young people are going to be doing extra work trying to lift with the old people.
And won't want to do it.
They won't want to do it.
They won't get tips or something for being young and doing a good job.
I've gotten a few good tips working at a moving company.
Actually, I did have a friend that had a moving company, and he said sometimes people would tip them, but it's not like a tip job. Like, you are just going to rely on that.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a tip job, but, that it was lunch, man. Like, all right, you got $20, I got $20. Let's go eat lunch today. Like, it was never expected. We were always gracious about it.
It says that the commissioners voted 7 times on age discrimination matters since Democrats gained control in August, compared with 3 age-related matters since earlier in the year.
I can also say, at my age, I don't want to do that job anymore. That was hard work. I don't want to be lifting boxes all day.
Yeah.
That hurt my back.
And I'm a woman. I don't want to do that job at all.
Let the young meatheads lift the heavy stuff.
Sex discrimination, Bonnie.
Yeah.
Let the young meatheads lift the heavy stuff. That's what they're built for, man.
Do most women actually care and say, like, meathead movers won't hire me? Or old people? Is there anybody actually being offended by this? Like, actually, like, applying and not getting the job?
I mean, we did have a female on the crew, and when she was on the job, she would, like, wrap the dishes, and then we would move the box. So there's, depending on your needs, like, there's a place for them, maybe. But we did the heavy stuff, man.
It says the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission chair, Charlotte Burrows, whom Biden elevated, has said she would vigorously enforce age discrimination laws as, I just realized it's specifically for age. So I keep bringing up females. I keep forgetting that's not just discrimination.
Oh, just wait. It'll be females soon. Just
she
like
said
Hooters.
she would vigorously enforce age discrimination laws as older workers regularly face age bias, stereotypes, and discrimination.
Yeah, because they can't do the job anymore.
Yeah, but right now, come on, old people are getting more jobs than ever because young people don't want to work. So it's like, this is a ridiculous thing they care about, and they're acting like they're saints for caring about.
Depends, again, depends on the job, depends on the industry.
And I feel like an old
and
person...
this is why companies should be allowed to discriminate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you are allowed to discriminate. Like, on almost every way, you're allowed to, but these particular ways, you're not allowed to.
Flight attendant must be able to fit down the aisle and not hit the roof.
I never even thought about that.
It used to be a requirement, like under 5'4",
It's not a
135
requirement anymore?
I'm pretty sure they threw that one out.
Whoa, that's crazy. That even has to do with not falling out of the sky.
Just a quick thought. Isn't the government actually the one discriminating on the basis of age to say that anyone under 18 can't have a job?
Yeah, they are.
So...
But those people don't have rights and don't matter.
Well, yes,
according to the United States.
Right. According to the United States and their age discrimination, these people have no rights.
Yeah, but it's the mental illness. It's the mental illness thing. Like, most people don't care. They're like, yep, those people aren't rights. That's my property. That 17-year-old man, boy, whatever.
Right.
So it's the mental illness thing. Like, that's the only reason it gets by. That's the only reason it's that inconsistency is allowed to continue is because people are crazy and believe it.
I think employees under the voting age shouldn't have their taxes withheld.
Yeah, right.
Because there's no representation for them.
Well, I think no one should have their taxes withheld. So,
Understood.
I mean, it's a good start.
It's a good start. At least that fits their theory of no taxation without representation.
Right. The focus on age discrimination comes as America's workforce is getting older. What is that supposed to mean? That young people are just not working? Like, they're admitting it there and then they're also...
it's getting older because they foobarred the dollar and you got to work longer and you're not able to retire like you used to.
Right.
Nearly a quarter of U.S. workers are 55 and older, and the Labor Department estimates that the number of people 65 and older in the labor force will grow by a third over the next decade.
Yep, because they pushed the Social Security age up, right? And you can't retire. You don't have enough savings. You don't qualify. You were so close to Social Security, and then they moved the goalpost.
That's terrible for whoever's like 50.
And so they're not exiting the labor force, leaving room for youngins to enter.
Let that be a lesson to you for relying on the government.
Right.
As if most people have a choice or like a free choice.
Then to rely on the government, you do.
They don't speak out against it.
That is
they
true.
have a choice about that. That's the thing that annoys me the most about people.
You don't have a choice as to whether it will be imposed on you, but you have a choice as to whether you rely on it.
Understood. But if you paid into Social Security, like most people have a W-2 job. There's not a lot of entrepreneurs. There's not a lot of independent contractors out there. It's a small percentage of the labor market, right? Social Security withholdings is mandatory across the board.
Right.
So the vast majority of people who have ever worked in their life have had money already stolen from them.
Yep.
And they're trying to recoup it on the back end.
And good for you, but you are unwise to rely on the government to ever do anything.
I got it. And what was their alternative prior to cryptocurrency?
Well, you could have planned on working long enough that your retirement savings would not include your Social Security.
And they destroyed that by inflating the currency if you did have savings or an investment
Then
account.
you should have planned better, because they've been destroying the currency since longer than you've been alive.
Yeah, you know, buy silver or something. Well, back to this article, it says some meathead movers trucks are stamped with the moniker student athlete movers. Youthful-looking employees pump iron before grabbing furniture, according to a recent social media advertisement. And to me, it sounds like this could
I bet they're doing
backfire.
lightweights. It's foolish to go to the gym before you go to work.
That is silly, yeah. One thing that I think is weird
Muscles
about it,
all
though,
fatigued
is
before you lift the heavy boxes.
don't you
right?
think that this would possibly backfire? Like, I can see some single lady wanting to hire them, but I can't. My dad would look at this and be like, "Okay, not hiring those weirdos. I don't want to hire." Like, don't you think so?
It's a
like,
niche
don't you
market,
think
sure.
most men are gonna be like, I'm gonna look weird if I specifically hire meathead movers."
Well, in families, men make fewer of the purchasing decisions than you might think.
Well, I'm not sure if it would like
I would say it's
backfire hard enough.
I would say it's a niche market, but again, if that's your crew, and the competitor has like little old ladies and older men,
yeah,
right? Who do you want lifting your stuff?
Well, it looks like we have another caller on the line. Anonymous caller, on-screen caller. What's on your mind?
Hi, thank you. I'm James from Miami. Yes, I was just calling because I heard you say something about someone mentioned the discrimination against age in the United States, right?
That's what we're talking about.
I just couldn't. Oh, thank you. I just couldn't help but this thing that has been bothering me for a while is this kid. I say kid. I don't know what his age is now, but he's the one that, and of course, I think it's in Florida where this happened. It's this kid named Aiden. Aiden. The last name I think is spelled Fucci or Fusi. It's Fucci. First name Aiden, Aiden.
But what did he do?
And he's the one that when he was like 14, he killed some cheerleader that was 13. So he's been locked up since he was 14. I don't know his age now, but recently they gave him some sort of is it one life be in prison or 2 lives? I don't know.
Okay. So either way, he's a juvenile
like
not getting out of prison.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I don't even think he's 18 yet.
Okay. What is your concern?
Yeah, I mean, if they can do this, they can. I mean, no, and listen, I've seen photos of him. They shake his head, and this guy's supposed to be under 18, and they're basically abusing him. They're like.
I mean, he's a murderer. So are you feeling sympathetic?
Yeah, I know. No, that's the thing. The age thing is the age. I mean, if he was if he had been maybe 16 when he did this, I can. No, I'm not even for life in prison for like underage people anyway. But
so I don't really get what I mean. I don't blame you for having confused emotions about this, because the thing is, the government tells people, well, 14-year-olds can't consent to stuff, and 14-year-olds don't know what they're doing. They're not capable. But then this guy is 14, stabs someone, and they're treating him like an adult in a way.
Then they shoot up a school, and you're like, I don't know, just juvie?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm not really saying he shouldn't have gotten. That's the thing. There was a victim. There was a girl who's been stabbed to death, which is one of the
Yeah, but keep in mind, he only killed one person. It's not a mass murder. I can understand if he would have gotten life in prison for killing 2 people at least, right? But I'm thinking this guy should be in a mental institution.
It's like the guy I talked about stabbing someone earlier. And thank you for the call, by the way. It's definitely an interesting thought experiment, because there was a guy I was talking about earlier in the show, and I said he should probably get like 20 years for stabbing someone to death, but she was like abusing his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And this girl was a cheerleader. What was she doing? And she was 13.
So do you think if he stays in prison till he's 34,
maybe he'd be normal? Like,
he
that's
could
the thing.
reintegrate into society? I don't know.
That's the thing. Like,
Oddly enough,
prisons
that
don't do
frequently is the case. And sadly, the one useful thing that the prison system does is that a lot of men are extremely dangerous for this very specific period of time while they're young.
Yep.
And then they just sort of, their neurons myelinate and they make better, less destructive decisions after they reach a certain age.
I mean, you don't have to bring it up, Bonnie, but I brought in for show prep the Grand Theft Auto hacker.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Life in prison or life in a mental hospital.
And he's autistic.
Because he's a hacker. He's an autistic hacker.
Young, right? Isn't
yeah.
he? Like,
In his teens, I believe.
What did he do?
He hacked into the servers for Grand Theft Auto 6 and was extorting the
he was
developers.
playing it. He got locked up, and then he did it again.
Right. In lockup, he got like an Amazon Fire TV and a wireless keyboard and hooked that up to the room that he was in and hacked back into it again, and has already claimed I just want to keep doing this. So he's a threat. Don't say it out loud, right? He's a threat, and so, but because he's autistic, they're not putting him in jail. It's just life in an institution.
But they did say that it costs GTA $5 million. I don't know how, but it said it costs them $5 million. So I'm not saying he should get life in prison,
okay,
or even in a mental institution.
Well, if he gets out, he's already claimed that he's going to continue to do it.
But he is, well, yeah, but maybe
he's not
going to
be able to make restitutions on
is he
$5 million.
Still? He's not going to want to do it in a few years when GTA 5 is already out.
He's autistic. It's
Why
not
don't they
going to
just leave him in until GTA 5 is out, or whatever it is, 6, whatever?
Well, because he's a hacker, right? He'll find something else to hack.
But then you're punishing him for something he hasn't done yet.
He said he wants to do it.
Yeah, but to GTA 5.
So when
GTA 5 is out, and that's no longer something that can be threatened.
Okay. Then let him out and he'll hack another game.
That's what you're saying he'll do, but
because that's what he said.
hasn't done that yet. He said that he'll do it to GTA 5.
Well, he said he'll continue hacking.
Okay, well, hacking's not a crime necessarily, is it?
Well, it depends on what you mean by hacking.
Because there's like red hacking, white hacking.
So he broke into the servers of the Rockstar developer and released files for the game and extorted them and said he would release more source code if they didn't telegram him some money.
Well, you're just making this thing up he didn't do and putting him life in prison for it.
I'll read the article then. That's what he did.
Oh, no. Okay.
So,
I thought you were saying if
he
he did something else.
I don't believe in intellectual property rights. So from my perspective, he didn't do anything wrong.
Maybe they should have defended it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like singers.
I mean, there you go.
Singers, they get their music released all the time, and I never really feel bad for them. Like, how do they not have it in a place where nobody can get it? I don't know. It's like sometimes, like Lana Del Rey went somewhere with a laptop and then got her stuff stolen. Well, you're walking around with a laptop and paparazzi photos. I don't know. It's not that I just don't really feel bad for her for that, you know?
Okay.
But anyways, going back to the Meathead Movers, it says that employees compete in the Meathead Olympics, in which they compete to assemble and leap over boxes.
You got to be quick with those boxes, man.
Numerous corporate
wardrobe boxes are the king.
Wardrobe boxes?
Yeah.
Why would you put clothing with like the thing for the hangers?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't think about those. I just imagined like a drawer, like or a dresser, like being put into a box.
Why would you put that in a box? It's already self-contained.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to
mean a box that does the job of a wardrobe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even if it's already self-contained, man, you take the heavy stuff out so you don't have to lift all the heavy stuff at once.
Mm-hmm.
You take the clothes out of the wardrobe, you put it in the wardrobe box, then you move the wardrobe and the wardrobe box with clothes in it. Because it's lighter than
that. Once you realize that a wardrobe box is a box that acts as a wardrobe and not a box that is for a wardrobe.
Yeah.
I feel like these people are just going to stink. It says employees dubbed meatheads must jog from truck to house when not carrying furniture.
Okay.
I would just think
it's a
about
very inefficient use of your energy, but fun.
Yeah, right. It's like I would think about this, be like, they're doing all these extra things, working out before they're going to be tired, and they're probably going to stink if they're college boys.
We're starting to understand why they only hire very young people to do this, because it's physically impossible, not to mention very unwise, for the 50-year-old to be jogging the entire time after he did his workout before work.
There were certain days I would legitimately go through a gallon of water. Like I had a gallon bottle of water, and I would finish it, and I would be dripping sweat. Like it is a physically
You did like this exact thing?
I
or
didn't
just...
lift weights beforehand.
Okay,
I didn't jog to and from the house, but I worked for a moving company, right? We packed the boxes, we lifted the boxes, we put it on the truck, we unloaded it at the next stop.
Yep.
Then we unpacked it and put everything away.
So just normal. It's a really hard job.
It's a really hard job, and that's what I'm saying. They're being very inefficient with their energy by lifting weights and jogging back and forth.
It's just funny that the guy they have a picture of right here is like not handsome at all. The Meathead Movers Invitational is a company-sponsored wrestling tournament. Meathead Movers executives say that the company is providing good jobs and quality services to the community that isn't discriminating against anyone. Older workers just don't want to carry chests downstairs.
They don't.
Yeah.
Yes. Nor should they. Like you've earned it, man. Go get a desk job.
Those older workers, they don't want to carry chests downstairs. They don't want to jog every second they're not working. They don't even want to do the workout before coming to work to move heavy things.
Look, and again, having done it, right, I don't want to lift the heavy stuff with the weaker guys. Like I want the big guys helping me lift.
It says, we are 100% open to hiring anyone at any age if they can do the job, said company owner Aaron Steed, which I guess that's him. So now I feel bad for calling him not handsome. But I was just thinking it was one of the meatheads.
He probably is a former meathead.
Maybe.
Nerds.
It says, people love working at Meathead, or they're turned off by how hard it is. You have to move furniture and run to get more.
Yeah.
Many of the EEOC's allegations, which that was the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, many of their allegations against Meathead focus on marketing and hiring practices that could discourage older workers from applying.
They definitely do discourage older workers from applying.
Firefighting, that can discourage someone from applying, but that's not a problem.
Yeah, and you gotta go get a test.
It's not only not a problem, it's a really, really good idea.
Yeah.
To discourage older people from being firemen.
I worked at a retail place. Like one of the check boxes was, can you repeatedly lift 50 pounds?
Yep.
Over and we had like a little old lady who wouldn't do anything. We filled up a box with 50 pounds. I weighed it just to see if she could actually do the job, and she couldn't lift it. She's like, I need one of you guys to do this.
Yeah, that happened to my friend.
Brian, fire her. She can't do the job.
My friend was a gay guy working at the back room of a home selling stuff for your home.
Okay.
And there was they were always like, hey, I don't want to say his name. Hey, come get this. Hey, come get this.
Person.
Well, I didn't, and I'm only not because he's not my friend anymore. But they'd be like, hey, come get this. Come get this. And it was all old ladies that they worked with, so he hated that because that's not fair. Like that they all got paid the same, and he's doing all the heavy lifting, and they're all old ladies. It's probably the same thing. They probably just checked that they could do it and then didn't.
Yep.
It says that discouragement bias can be present in job ads, marketing materials, and job application questions, such as asking about a student's class schedule. The agency said that. Wow.
As it should be. You got to be able to work the hours that the stuff's being moved.
Well, it's been Free Talk Live. We're back on tomorrow. You can go to freetalklive.com and you can call back in tomorrow if you missed us tonight. Free Talk Live. Peace.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. Freedom's